himself by killing his family, he most certainly was not. His powers were almost ungodly and he seemed to use them wisely. He was Chi most of the time and kind of reminded him of both Sasuke before he left and Shino. He could be trusted, for now at least. This guy did kill his entire family after all. Still, there was something wrong with that story when compared to the Itachi that had fought him and now fought alongside him and his new friends. He'd worry about it later. Alright then. Naruto sighed again and stood completely still. Let's go wild, he said as orange rings formed around his eyes, his right pupil elongated into a horizontal slit and his right eye turned yellow. Senjutsu. Senenmoto. What strange eyes, Ikaruga mused. Fuin. Kai. Naruto spoke as he unsealed a dozen shuriken from a scroll that had appeared in his hand. The shuriken sailed towards Ikaruga only for her to unsheath her sword and deflect the dozen shuriken. There is nothing under the sun that I cannot slice, Ikaruga proclaimed and slashed one last time, this time striking at Naruto directly. Naruto brought his hands up and a kunai slipped into his grasp. Futon. Hein. He exclaimed as his wind chakra coated the blade. You're good, he commented as the two blades connected and Naruto pulled back. But I'm better, he said, as he lunged forward and threw out a punch with his free hand. Kawazu Kumite. Oh, Ikaruga asked amused as she dodged the punch effortlessly only to feel a solid hit to the side of her face, sending her crashing back into the far wall. What was that? She stammered in surprise. She's insanely fast, Naruto thought as he narrowed his eyes. If I wasn't in Sage mode and using the Sharingan, she would have sliced right through me and I wouldn't have been able to do a damn thing about it. That sword of hers is something else too. My wind-enhanced kunai could barely hold itself together when we clashed. That was my way of greeting, Ikaruga said as she stood up completely recovered. I am no mere passerby on the road. I don't care, Naruto said back and formed a familiar hand seal. Kage Bunshin no Jutsu, he exclaimed as three clones popped into existence beside him and charged. Here I come, Ikaruga spoke as she readied her sword. Yasha Senku, it came out as a whisper and, a second later she made one slash with her sword. Suddenly all three clones were wiped out and were soon followed by a gust of wind. Her speed with that sword of hers is unreal, Naruto thought as his Sharingan spun wildly. Well, I guess I have to even the playing field. Suddenly his Sharingan shifted into its Mangekyo form and he focused on her sword. Kamui, he whispered as space and time distorted where she held her sword. What the? Ikaruga said and jumped away from the spiraling vortex. I won't fall for your tricks, she said as she landed a few yards back. Senpo. Rasenrangan, Naruto exclaimed as he appeared from above with two spiraling chakra spheres in hand. Is that pure magic? Ikaruga asked in thought as she narrowly evaded the attack. The twin orbs of energy struck the ground and exploded in a blast of smoke and dust as she skidded to a halt just outside of the smoke cloud. I can't see anything. Don't tell me he planned to use this as a smokescreen. She narrowed her eyes in anger at the thought. Karura-en, she bellowed as she unleashed a blast of fire from her blade with one single slash, blowing away out the smoke and leaving a trail of destruction through the hall. She's too good, Naruto thought as the smoke cleared. It looks like I can't afford to hold back, he sighed and formed a hand seal. Kage Bunshin no Jutsu, two clones instantly pop ed into existence at his side and started charging a familiar blue chakra sphere in his hand. Another magic ball. No matter what weapon you wield, it cannot stand up to my blade. Surrender, Ikaruga spoke clearly. This isn't meant to break your sword, Naruto explained as white wind blades formed around the chakra ball and a bell-like screech filled the air. It's just meant to defeat you, he yelled as he lunged at her. Foolish, Ikaruga said as she readied her sword. Futon. Rasengan, Naruto exclaimed as the spiraling chakra sphere connected with Ikaruga's sword. Her eyes widened as the energy ball drilled into her blade and broke through. She was blown back upon contact with the chakra sphere and slammed into the far wall with an echoing explosion. He looked where his opponent had crashed. She sat motionless against the dented wall breathing heavily, but she was clearly still alive. We're done here, he said and turned away. Wait, she stammered as she looked up. Who are you? Ikaruga thought as she slipped into unconsciousness. Now, I need to find Erza and Itachi, Naruto thought as he turned and dashed down the darkened corridor. Author's notes. Naruto returns after completing his senjutsu training and defeats Ikaruga. The other fights are still canon, so I won't be rewriting them. However, the next chapter will feature noticeable differences concerning Jello and the ending of this story arc. According to Kabuto, Senju Hashirama and Uchiha Madara are stronger than all 5 Kages of the current generation combined. I think it's pretty clear that Naruto, Sasuke and Tobi are at their level in canon, so when I compare it to Fairy Tail, I think that's the level that Makarov and Gildarts stands at. Now that Naruto has completed his senjutsu training, I think he's about as strong as Itachi, Mistogen and Laxus without the Kyuubi's chakra now. Since he has Kakashi's Mangekyo Sharingan and Jiraiya's senjutsu, that should make him strong enough to fight in the big leagues without always falling back on Kurama like he's done until now in this story. I'm actually wondering where a full-on Demon Miragen stands in the ranks of both Fairy Tail and Naruto canon. I've seen her fight. She's a fucking awesome female fighter, second only to Erza in her fairy armor, and I think she could easily face down Naruto in his version 2 Demon Fox Cloak. She could probably take on Itachi and win if she really cut loose with her magic blasts too. I'm just wondering who would be classed as in the same league as her besides Erza, because I'm drawing a blank here. Translation. Kuchiyos. Yutai Kuzushi no Jutsu equals summoning, food cart destroyer technique. Futon. Rasengan equals wind release. Spiraling sphere cage bunshin no Jutsu equals shadow clone technique senjutsu. Senin moto equals sage technique, sage mode. Senpo. Rasenrangan equals sage art. Spiraling serial spheres fuin. Kai equals seal, release. Futon. Hein equals wind release. Flying swallow kawazu kumite equals frog kata. Kamui equals might of the gods. Konso. Tenrin no Yoroi equals express equipmentary, the heavens wheel armor. Tenrin. Sakururan Soto equals circle sword. Karyu no Tekken equals fire dragon's iron fist. Kori no Zoke Maho. Hanma equals ice make, hammer. Mizu no Maho. Wota Sarasa equals water magic. Water slicer Ise Mahojin. Eterian equals satellite square, Etherian. Yasha Senku equals Yasha's empty flash. Karura N equals Garuda flame. Please read and review. See y'all later. The Tower Part 2. Disclyudo or Fairy Tail, Naruto. Fairy Tail Chronicles. Chapter 8. The Tower Part 2. Earthland. Tower of Heaven, Throne Room. Dear me, it seems the game is already over. Jello sighed as he knocked over the pieces on his chessboard. Is it really entertaining, playing with people's lives? Erza demanded as she stepped out of the doorway. Oh, but of course, Jello answered. Life and death are the very basis of all things, they intensify every emotion. Or to put it a rather different way, there is nothing quite as dull as life. It has been a while, Erza. Y'all. Erza trailed off when he turned and she saw his face. You could have simply fled this place at any time, Jello told her. Why did you choose not to do so? I need to free all of my former comrades, Erza replied. Not that I care, Jello countered. I no longer have any use for them, not with the Tower of Heaven complete. Even if it were to be destroyed only 10 minutes from now. Erza questioned. You were referring to Eterian. Hehehehe. Jello chuckled at that. You seem unconcerned. So you really were bluffing, Erza guessed as she gripped her sword tighter. Oh no, the Eterian will fall. Jello responded as he removed his hood, exposing his face. That is what I wanted to hear. Erza shouted as she raised her sword. 10 minutes. If I can simply keep you here for that long, I will be able to bring an end to all of this. Oh no, you are going to be sacrificed to Zirf, Jello laughed. That much is pure fact. It is your destiny. Sorry I'm late, Naruto said as he arrived at the throne room doors to the sight of Itachi waiting for him. Where's Erza? Inside, Itachi replied. Why aren't you in there with her? Naruto asked. At the moment she does not seem to need our help, Itachi replied. 7 minutes left, Jello chuckled. In 7 minutes' time, Eterian will strike this place. Let us enjoy those 7 minutes, Erza. Right now there is nothing that I fear, Erza declared. Even if Eterian does fall upon me, I will be satisfied as long as I take you with me. Here I come. Jello smirked as he raised his hand and whips of dark energy lanced out. Yami no Maho. The whips were so fast that they were able to strike Urza across the chest plate as she evaded the assault. I've got you now. Jalal's smirk widened as he sent a condensed ray of darkness at her. It stuck her in the stomach and blew her back through the wall and outside of the tower. She tumbled for a moment before kicking off of some falling debris and launching herself back up into the throne room. You've just built this huge tower and you're just smashing it up. Urza shouted as two swords appeared in her hand and swiped down at Jalal. I just don't know what to say. It's just a pillar or two. Jalal responded with a knowing grin. Nothing more than decorations. Sho and the others worked 8 long years believing in you, to make those decorations. Urza yelled in anger as she slashed away at him. Oh, don't play your little word games with me, Jalal shot back as he evaded each strike. What's important here is the R system, that's what those 8 years were for, and now it is finally complete. He laughed as he hurled a volley of darkness at her, binding her. Enough, Urza screamed and with one single slash, wiped away the darkness that had assaulted her. This ends now, she called out as she appeared in front of him and slashed with the back of her katana. You're telling me, this is the same Urza? Jalal thought in shock as she slashed at him across the chest with one swift move and then pinned him to the ground. Damn, what are you really after? Urza demanded as she looked down at him. You haven't completed the R system at all, have you? Don't think I've been doing nothing for those 8 years, I've done my research on R systems. Sure, you've constructed the building itself perfectly, in accordance with the blueprints from back then. But you're still missing one basic thing to actually complete the R system. I already told you, Jalal strained. The sacrifice will be you. I mean something more basic than that, Urza continued. The thing you're lacking here is magic. To activate a magic spell of this scale requires a total of 2,700,000,000 ideas of sheer magic power. We're talking about the kind of magic you might not even be able to achieve by gathering all the mages on the continent. It is utterly impossible for a single human to gather up all of that magic and store it in this tower. And that's not the only thing. You are perfectly aware of the Council's intents to destroy this place, yet you make not a single move to run. What exactly are you planning? I think you've already realized what he has planned. A new voice spoke from the entrance. The sheer amount of energy needed for such a technique is inhuman, only the Biju are capable of generating the amount of power needed. Not quite, Urza said as she stood up and stepped away. There is one other source of energy great enough to power a spell of this scale, the magic of the world itself. The world itself? Itachi asked with a raised eyebrow. The energy Naruto was able to gather from the world around him, Urza replied and turned to the blonde sage. You mean natural energy? Naruto asked and she nodded. But I'm only able to use a small amount of it. The magic of a world is theoretically limitless, Urza explained. You figured it out. Jalal stared up with widened eyes. Itirian is said to gather the magic of the world itself and unleash it in one blast at a target, Urza finished. You're hoping for the Council to fire Itirian at the tower and somehow use that energy to power the R system. It doesn't matter now, Jalal smirked. 1 minute, we can't stop an attack of this scale, Itachi said to his 2 guild mates. Maybe we can, Naruto suggested and ran over to the hole in T. He wall that was created earlier when Jalal had blown Urza through it. What are you planning to do? Urza yelled after him. I'm going to stop that light. Naruto shouted back as he jumped and stood on the side of the wall. Senjutsu. Senenmoto, he whispered as gathered natural energy into his body and his eyes shifted into sage mode. Here it comes, he thought as he looked up and saw a beam of light descend on the tower. Senpo. Kamui, space and time distorted right above the tower and the beam of light was sucked in upon contact. Unlike the regular Kamui which was capable to creating a small black hole and capable of sucking up most attacks and people. The Senpo Kamui was the same jutsu powered by his sage chakra and as such was far larger and stronger than the original. The black K-hole that Naruto had just created above the tower was so large that it was capable of transporting the sheer power of the Itirian blast into another dimension. However, there was a problem with this specific jutsu. It drained him completely of natural energy in one go. Damn, Naruto grunted as he felt sage mode leave him and he started to fall off the tower. Urza appeared and grabbed his hand before he could fall. pulling him back inside the throne room. Thanks, he breathed and she nodded in response. He really has gotten stronger, Urza thought with a small smile and stood up once more. You, all those years of work, infiltrating the council, you'll pay for this, damn you. Jello roared in anger as he stood up. I've had enough out of you, shouted a familiar pink-haired boy, with his hands covered in flames as he appeared and landed a solid punch to Jalal's face, sending him crashing back into the far wall. Natsu. Urza trailed off surprised. Urza belongs to Fairy Tail, Natsu declared. Don't think, even for a second, that you can screw with us and get away with it. And now the Dragon Slayer appears, Jello sneered as he stood up, casting away his coat revealing his armored suit underneath. You all have the nerve to disrupt my plans. I'm going to crush you with my Tentai Maho. Naruto-kun, Itachi spoke up, catching tension. How long until you recover? Give me 5 minutes, Naruto replied, clearly sweating. Very well, Itachi nodded. Move aside, Salamander-san, he ordered as his eyes shifted into his Mangekyo Sharingan. I will deal with this. Natsu remembered the kind of power Itachi had wielded during his battle with Naruto and reluctantly moved out of the way. Amaterasu, the Uchiha whispered, and black flames exploded from his eyes. Ryusei. Jello smirked as his body glowed yellow and his right eye changed in appearance. The pupil became a strange red pattern as he disappeared in a burst of speed before the black flames could touch him. What? Itachi thought in surprise. No one had ever dodged Amaterasu before, and for good reason, considering the speed that the flames traveled at to reach their target. Hell, Sasuke had only survived because of Orochimaru's rebirthing technique, and Naruto had been forced to manipulate space and time with Kamui just to deflect it. Too slow, Jello said as he appeared behind him and landed a solid punch across his face. Even with my Sharingan, I can barely see his movements, Itachi thought as Jello continued to batter him. There is a foreign energy coursing through his system that is not his own, disrupting his chakra and my genjutsu. It reminds me of the Kyuubi's chakra when it influences Naruto, but not as a chaotic, it's almost calm. He's also not looking into my eyes, so I can't use Tsukuyomi. He must have received word of my abilities. I am not a fool, Jello said as he threw out another punch. Your eyes are the source of your power. As long as I don't look into your eyes, you cannot defeat me. Even with that power of yours, it's over. It's time for you to have a glimpse, he spoke as he jumped up onto the ceiling. Of real destructive power, 7 spheres of yellow magic connected around him and suddenly shot down at Itachi. Shichiseiken, Susanoo, Itachi whispered as the spiritual thunder god formed around him as the 7 golden orbs struck him. It doesn't matter what you do. As long as this tower still stands, I will just find another way to gathering the energy needed to power it. Jello laughed as he landed back on the floor at the other side of the room and threw his arms up in a cross shape. What is this feeling? Itachi thought with narrowed eyes. Arutarisu, Jello exclaimed as he gathered the darkness of the shadows around him into a single large sphere and hurled it at the spiritual thunder god. Susanoo brought down the Yata no Kagami down to cover Itachi as the swirling dark orb struck with a deafening explosion. T.S. isn't going the way I'd hoped. At the very least I need to ensure that the enemy does not win this battle, but right now I don't have the chakra to completely destroy this tower. There has to be another way, Itachi thought and saw Natsu out of the corner of his eye. Salamander-san, I am told that you can devour flames in order to gain strength. Yeah. Natsu nodded. Devour these flames and use that strength to destroy this tower. If this tower were to fall, then at the very least we can deny the enemy victory, Itachi spoke as black flames erupted from his eyes once more. Amaterasu. Atsu quickly ate the black flames without them burning him, and after the last of them were devoured he grinned. I'm all revved up. He punched his hand into his palm as his magic seal appeared in the air in front of him and orange flames wrapped around his body. Scales formed across his forehead and his teeth elongated into sharp canines. Fairy Tail mages specialize in property damage, he said, as he charged forward far faster than before and landed a solid punch to the jaw, sending Jello flying back. You little punk. Jello growled out as he recovered and charged back at the Dragon Slayer before him. I'm going to finish you in an instant. You're going to regret getting up here, I'll send you straight to hell. I've got confidence in my own stubbornness, Natsu grinned as the two exchanged blows. Come and get me if you can. Shichiseiken, Jello exclaimed as he knocked Natsu away and fired off a volley of light orbs at him. Come on, Natsu urged and Jello struck him head-on with an orb of light only for it to break apart upon contact with his flames. What's the matter? Are you holding back because you're afraid to damage your precious tower? Your attacks have no effect on me at all. Is this really Natsu? He might be stronger than me now, Urza thought as she watched on. That power, it has to be Doragon. Fosu, there's no mistaking it. This is Natsu's true power, unreal. Impressive, Itachi mused. Don't get cocky, you little punk, Jello shouted as he telekinetically blasted Natsu back into the far wall. Karyu no Kone, Natsu exclaimed as his hands ignited in fire and slammed them down into the ground, shaking the tower and unleashing a torrent of flames everywhere. My tower, I spent 8 years building it, Jello said enraged. Unforgivable, he yelled and brought his hands up in a cross shape above his head, releasing a shockwave. That's the same spell as before, Itachi thought and prepared to intervene should that spell be used again. Something that could damage even the Yata no Kagami was not something that he would allow to be used against one of his allies if he could help it. But he had already released Susanoo and his chakra was running low despite his inhuman resilience to exhaustion. Senjutsu. Senenmoto, Naruto spoke from behind him as the ground around him seemed to crack. Naruto-kun, he's finally ready to re-enter the battle, Itachi mused. He recharged, Urza thought as the blonde took a step forward and disappeared in a burst of speed. What inhuman speed, you again, Jello sneered as he finished. Gathering darkness from the shadows around the destroyed. Urutarisu, Senpo. Cho Udama Rasengan. Naruto exclaimed as he descended upon the blue-haired mage with a large spinning chakra sphere. In hand nearly twice as big as his own body. Susanoo, Itachi strained as the spiritual thunder god formed around him once again. He quickly grabbed Urza and Natsu with its 2 right hands, discarding both the sword and the jar while raising the Yata no Kagami up to defend from the resulting blast unleashed by Naruto's very destructive jutsu. The massive spiraling sphere connected with the orb of darkness and both exploded with an echoing crack. The tower shattered and fell, or it would if it didn't fall away and reveal nothing but blue crystal in its place. Naruto landed beside Urza, Natsu and Itachi, the latter of whom had released Susanoo and had fallen to his knees in exhaustion. Did you get him? Natsu asked. No, Naruto shook his head. I can still sense his chakra. This is... Urza trailed off at the sight of the now crystal tower around them. Lacrima. The entire tower is one big lacrima. He must have been planning to absorb magic from Idarian with this lacrima. You dare to interfere with my plans. Jello spoke as the dust cleared and revealed his glaring form. I'll kill you here and now. Jello, Urza muttered as a single tear slid down the left side of her face. Urza. This guy, he. Naruto thought and formed a single-hand seal. Urza, I'm sorry, but I'm going to have to make you cry. Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. A second later 2 clones popped into existence at his side. Naruto, what are you? Urza started only to cover her ears as a familiar and disturbing bell-like screech echoed through the air. Don't tell me he's going to use that spell. But I thought I told him never to use it again. He's going to cripple himself at this rate. That's... Itachi whispered as Naruto and his clones formed a white chakra shuriken in the original's right hand. What is that? Jello asked with wide eyes. This guy, you're done for now, Natsu declared. Futon. Rasenshuriken, Naruto exclaimed as he hurled the chakra shuriken through the air at the blue-haired mage. He threw it, Itachi thought with wide eyes. How can he throw it? The chakra shuriken closed in and Jello jumped over it in order to evade the strike. The wind blades expanded just as he landed several feet away, and a moment later the Rasengan core of the chakra shuriken expanded. Finally with an echoing explosion it was over. It ends now, Naruto yelled as he appeared beside the blue-haired mage. Senpo. Rasenrangan, he exclaimed as he slammed a pair of spinning chakra sphere into Jalal's chest. I am impossible, I cannot be defeated, Jello shouted back as he quickly recovered. despite the sheer amount of damage he had taken, and hurled a bolt of light at Naruto. I will create a land of freedom. Zirf called to me softly, through the pain and fear. He asked me if I wanted true freedom. That's right. I am the only one who can sense Zerif's presence. I am the chosen one. Together with Zirf, I will create a nation of true freedom. Would you just shut up already? Naruto yelled as the two traded blows, battling their way from one side of the room-turned-roof to the other. I don't give a damn about your freedom, or any shit like that. Who cares? Crap like that has got nothing to do with my life. The will to change the world, that alone is enough to turn the wheel of history. Why can you fools not understand that? Jello exclaimed as he jumped into the air, and formed a large yellow magic circle in midair. The Abisu Bariku again. Are you trying to bring down the whole tower? Urza demanded at the sight. Just give me another 8 years. No, this time. I'll build it in 5 years. Zirf, just a little longer, Jello rambled. I don't care if you tell me that the whole damn world will be destroyed tomorrow. I'll never give up. That's what it means to be human. Naruto yelled as he jumped and his Mangekyo Sharingan spun. Abisu Bariku, Jello exclaimed as a large fusion blast of darkness right at him. Kamui, Naruto whispered as space and time distorted between them. Jalal's spell was sucked into the spiraling vortex, much to his shock and anger. Damn it! I'm out of Sage Chakra again, he thought as he breathed raggedly. I have just enough chakra left, he said as he started channeling chakra to his left arm and jumped right at Jelal. That spell he just used, that's what he used to stop Idarian. Damn him, Jelal thought in ange. Only for it to turn into shock as Naruto jumped at him. Rasengan, Naruto exclaimed as he slammed the spinning chakra sphere into Jalal's chest, blowing him downwards through the tower. The tower's hook as the lacrima crystal started to crack and shatter until the whole tower started to fall as one down onto the island below. Author's notes. As you can see, while Naruto has grown much stronger, he still needs to improve himself. Unlike in canon, this Naruto has not learned how to use shadow clones in order to recharge his Sage Chakra and is forced to sit still long enough to gather it himself. Also, Itachi's new eyes that Perliuzuka created for him have turned his eyes into the eternal Mangekyo Sharingan, so he won't go blind whenever he really goes all out. Idarian equals a condensed blast of natural energy at a target capable of destroying practically anything. Though the Magic Council consider it a necessary evil, I believe that any long-range weapon of mass destruction should only be us. Ed is a deterrent for war and nothing else. Sadly, others seem to disagree. Translation. Rasengan equals spiraling sphere. Futon. Rasenshuriken equals wind release. Spiraling shuriken Kage Bunshin no Jutsu equals Sha. Dao clone technique Senjutsu. Senin Modo equals Sage technique. Sage mode Senpo. Kamui equals Sage art, might of the gods. Kawazu Kumite equals Frog Kata Amaterasu equals Illuminating Heaven Tsukuyomi equals Moon Reader. Susan. U equals he with the ability to help by all means. Yata no Kagami equals 8-span mirror. Konso. Yosei no Yoroi equals Express Equipmentary. Armadura Fairy Ise Mahojin. Idarian equals Satellite Square, Etherian. Yami N. O Maho equals Darkness Magic Tentai Maho equals Heavenly Body Magi. Shichiseiken equals Grand Chariot Urutarisu equals Alteris. Karyu no Kone equals Fire Dragon's Brilliant Flame Doragon Fosu equals Dragon Force. Abisu Bariku equals Abyss Break. Please read and review. See y'all later. Homeward Bound. Disclaimer. I do not own Naruto or Fairy Tail. Naruto. Fairy Tail Chronicles. Chapter 9. Homeward Bound. Earthland. Fury Southern Beach. Where am I? Urza whispered with a groan as her eyes slowly opened. Urza. A series of voices were heard along with splashing water. Thank God you're okay. Don't make us worry like that, damn it. What's going on? Urza asked as she shook herself awake. She appeared to be on a beach under the night sky and in someone's arms. Her friends were running towards her, splashing water everywhere as they ran. She raised her hands and gazed at them for several long seconds as her vision returned to normal. I'm alive. She looked up at the one who was holding her bridal style in his arms. We all are, Naruto replied as he looked down at her with a small smile. It's over. Jello. Did he? Urza trailed off. I don't know if he survived or not, Naruto answered her unasked question. He dropped to his knees with her still in his arms. You really cared about him, but sometimes, you just can't save everyone. The only option people like us have is to move forward and never give up, even at the end. You're right, Urza smiled sadly. Fairy tale. I can't really imagine a world without my comrades. It's the same for all of us. Natsu was the one who responded to that. You, a member of Fairy Tale, you're one of us and we weren't going to let anyone take you away. That's right, Lucy nodded in agreement. You all. Urza closed her eyes with a smile. Thank you, she told them. That's right. I don't have to die for my comrades, Sake, I have to live for their sake. Because that's the only way to bring about a happy future, she thought as tears flowed down from both of her eyes. Let's get out of here. Naruto grinned. Earthland. Fury Southern Beach Hotel. Is this guy really going to be okay? Gray asked as he looked at the bedridden Natsu wrapped in bandages. Yeah, seriously, he's been sleeping for 3 days now, Lucy added. Natsu. Lucis wearing a maid outfit, and she's dancing for everyone, Happy shouted into the Dragon Slayer's ear. I'd be pissed off if that managed to wake him up. Lucy huffed and turned away only for the pink-haired young man to start smiling. No grinning in your sleep. Oh, just let him rest a little longer, Urza spoke up from the desk on the other side of the room. Not that it could have been helped under the circumstances, Itachi mused. I took a gamble when I allowed him to devour the black flames of Amaterasu, by all rights. He should have been incinerated by merely touching it, he grunted as he turned away. Thankfully all I had to do was buy time for Naruto-kun to recover, otherwise I would have had to go on the offensive and risk leaving the others unprotected. This guy is becoming more of a monster every day, Gray sighed and leaned back in his chair. Natsu's skills are extraordinary, Edik. I thought as he gazed down at the young man's sleeping face. His body was able to break down Amaterasu into mere particles and absorb the energy from it, thus triggering that transformation we saw. This boy's potential rivals Naruto-kun's. They both even act somewhat alike, I wonder. I caused so much trouble to all of you in this incident, Urza spoke apologetically. I really don't know what I can say. Don't worry about it, Naruto told her. We won and we all made it out of there alive. Whatever happened to that Element 4 girl? Urza asked, changing the subject. Juvia. Oh, she's headed back already, Gray answered. She said she wanted to join Fairy Tale as soon as possible, so she ran off to find the old man. I see. I hear she helped us out a lot, so I would have liked to be there to back her up. But, Urza mused, shouldn't you be getting some sleep? Naruto asked the redhead. I wasn't really hurt that much, Urza shook her head and waved. Could have been a lot worse. That's an understatement, Gray muttered. So this is where you were, Naruto spoke up as he stepped out onto the balcony. Urza stood at the edge with her arms resting on the banister as she gazed out at the calm ocean that was reflecting the moonlight. Huh, oh, it's you Naruto, Urza said over her shoulder as he approached. Are you all right? Naruto asked her. I'm just thinking about my old comrades, my old friends. I feel like I've betrayed them, Urza responded. I don't know if Jello was really possessed by Zeref's ghost or not, but he was able to change my old friends into some of my worst enemies. I just left them after Itachi defeated them without a care in the world. I know the feeling, Naruto started. Before I came here I was being hunted by a group of S-class creamy Nals called the Akatsuki who wanted to harness the demonic power I have. I heard that your home was destroyed, Urza said a little subdued. Itachi told you that? Naruto asked before shaking his head. Of course he did. He used to be one of them, a member of the Akatsuki, before he was brought here. So Naruto and Itachi really were enemies, Urza thought in confirmation. I could have gone back and defended my home, but the leader of the village, the Hokage, ordered me to remain here out of the Akatsuki's reach, Naruto continued. That didn't work out as well as we'd hoped, my old sense. I infiltrated the Akatsuki's home village and was killed by their leader. With Ero Sennin dead, they knew Konoha couldn't protect me, and as soon as the Akatsuki realized that they couldn't find me, they launched a direct attack on Konoha. The whole village was destroyed in one day, and I wasn't there to do a damn thing about it. I'm sorry, Urza whispered. It seems we all have our problems. Yeah. Naruto nodded sadly. Itachi's little brother was my best friend and he betrayed us 4 years ago. I promised the girl I liked that I would bring him back to her, but in the end I failed. I've always failed. No matter how far I go or how hard I try, it never seems to be enough. Have you given up? Urza asked him. I'll never give up, Naruto replied. There is nothing more I can do about my home or the people that died for me, but I'm not just going to let the Akatsuki take me. Konoha is my past. Fairy Tail is my future. Unlike my old friend Sasuke, I'll keep moving forward and never look back at what could have been. Keep moving forward, huh? Urza smiled at that. Sho, Simon, Wally, Miliana, Jelil, I'll keep moving forward. I forgive you all, and I'm sorry for everything. Let's go back inside and get some sleep, Naruto suggested as he turned back towards the door. Naruto, wait, Urza said quickly, stopping him. What is it? Naruto asked as he turned half towards her. Thank you. Urza smiled and hugged, catching him by surprise. Huh, Naruto thought, unable to comprehend what she was doing. He'd seen others hug before but had never actually experienced it himself before. You're welcome. It came out as a question even as he slipped his arms around her and hugged her back. Neither of them said a word as they broke apart and went their separate ways. Earthland. Magnolia Fairy Tail Guild. What the fuck? Naruto's voice echoed as they all stood in front of the newly completed Fairy Tail Guild. Is anyone else seeing this? The new guild was far larger than the one that was destroyed during the war with Phantom Lord several months ago. This is... Gray trailed off. That was a shock, Urza commented. They actually finished it, Natsu exclaimed in surprise. Itachi grunted. It looks like a castle, Lucy mused at the sight. Hey, Miragen greeted them with a wave from the entrance. Welcome back to Fairy Tail. It's totally different from before, Natsu said. We did rebuild it from scratch, Miragen responded. We've got an open-air cafe now along with a souvenir shop that sells Fairy Tail t-shirts, wristbands, mugs and towels. We even have lacrima crystals for sale, though they are pretty pricey. As she and the others continued towards the gift shop, Itachi hung back with Naruto. Naruto, Itachi spoke up, catching his attention. Who is she? Mira-chan, Naruto asked. I'm surprised you haven't met her yet. She's usually the one in charge of the guild whenever the old man has a council meeting. She's supposed to be insanely strong, and I do know she is registered as an S-class mage, though she never seems to take any missions. Her chakra is strange, Itachi mused. You cannot tell me you haven't noticed. So your Sharingan picked up on it? Huh, Naruto asked, though it didn't come out more of a statement than a question. She and her brother are the same, so I think it's their branch of magic. Perhaps, Itachi conceded. You guys are finally back, huh? Kana spoke from the doorway. Come on inside and check it out, she said as she gestured towards the main hall. It's not like it was before, Natsu grumbled as the group looked over the new main hall of the guild. Hey there, one of the blonde waitresses dressed in a Fairy Tail min dress greeted them with a smile. Welcome to Fairy Tail. The waitresses have got new outfits, Gray trailed off with a glazed look. Nice legs, Naruto thought, only to receive an elbow from the redhead at his side. Quit staring, you idiot, Urza hissed in his ear. Sorry, Naruto apologized as she turned away. Why does she care? Girls are just so confusing. Sakura-chan did the same thing. I'll admit that the outfits are cute, but that doesn't give you the right to stare. Urza thought with an annoyed look. It had been 3 months since the blonde had entered her life, and even she had to admit that she'd started to think of him as more than a friend. And after the recent incident at the Tower of Heaven, he'd become her lifeline and support to continue living in this strange world. Was that the master's idea? Lucy asked with a sigh. It's all different, Natsu pouted. And that's not all we've got that's new. Behind the bar we have a pool, downstairs there is an amusement center, and perhaps the biggest difference is the second floor. Anybody's allowed up there now. Kana continued. Although naturally, you still have to have an S-rank mage on your team to go on S-rank missions. We can go up to the second floor. Lucy asked, surprised. S-rank, huh? Naruto muttered, though the redhead at his side heard him. Is that what he wants? To be an S-rank mage like me? He certainly has the power to be one, Urza thought. So you're finally back, are you? A familiar old voice spoke up from the side. Long time no see, old man, Naruto greeted with a wave. Welcome back, all of you. Makarov nodded back and motioned to the blue-haired woman at his side. This is our newest member, Juvia. Cute, ain't she? So you really have joined up. Gray grinned at the sight. Juvia, thank you for all of your help back at the tower, Urza said with a nod. So you know one another. Makarov mused before shrugging. Juvia has all of you to thank. Juvia smiled happily while speaking in third person as normal. Juvia will do her best. Good luck, Lucy smiled back. In that case, Makarov whispered to Urza. You probably already know, but she used to be one of Phantom's. Yes, don't worry about that, Urza reassured. She's our comrade now. I see. Makarov nodded and waved off their chat. Well, make her feel at home. Oh, and there's one more new member I'd like you to meet, he said and turned to one of the tables. Hey, come and introduce yourself. Someone else, Happy asked as they turned towards the table. What? Lucy shouted in surprise as she recognized him. Why, you're kidding me, Gray yelled. Gajiel Red Fox. Natsu glared at the man. What's this punk doing here? Master, what kind of joke is this supposed to be? Gray questioned. Wait, Juvia brought him here, Juvia pleaded. Am I missing something? Itachi inquired. That guy used to be one of the top members of Phanto Fairy Tail was at war with 3 months ago, Naruto explained. From what I heard he is also a dragon slayer like Natsu, only he uses iron instead of fire. I see. Itachi nodded in understanding. Juvia is one thing, but this guy was directly responsible for our guild's destruction, Urza declared. Now, he was only acting on Jose's orders back then. Makarov reasoned. It couldn't be helped. You know what they say, yesterday's enemies are today's friends. I know the feeling, Naruto grumbled as he sent a glare at the Uchiha to his side. Itachi grunted in agreement. Stop screwing around, Natsu yelled. I can't work with a guy like that. Oh, don't worry, Gajiel shot back. I have no intention of being all buddy-buddy with you. I need work. One guild is as good as the next. Not that I ever thought I'd end up working at a nasty guild like this. What did you say? Natsu snarled out. Gajiel-kun is always so lonely, Juvia cried. Juvia couldn't bear to just leave him. I mean Juvia doesn't like him or anything. It is the duty of an old man like me to guide young men who have lost their way back onto the right path. Makarov spoke wisely. He's not a bad guy at heart, you know, at least, I hope not. If this is Master's decision, then I will support it, but I think we should at least someone keep an eye on him for the time being, Urza said clearly. It's not like we haven't done something like this before. Indeed, Itachi thought as he remembered that despite the fact that he was now recognized as a friend and comrade by the others in Fairy Tail, he was originally an enemy of Naruto's, and the two had almost killed each other during their little reunion, back when he confronted the young Uzumaki. Is something wrong? Lucy asked Natsu. I dunno, Natsu shivered. This new guild, it doesn't feel right. Hurry up and take a seat. The main event is about to start, CA. Na told them as she pushed the group to one of the empty tables, and the moment they were seated, the light went out and shrouded the room in darkness. Too dark, Natsu said and breathed a small stray of fire into the air above him to cast some light on them. Stop doing that, Kana ordered. It's a show, it's meant to be dark. What's all this now? Gray asked. There's a stage over there, Lucy said as the stage lit up with lights. Is that Mira-chan? Naruto blinked as the curtains parted to reveal the white-haired beauty in a dress with her legs crossed sitting on a chair and a guitar in her arms. I gently touch the desk where you used to sit. Alone once more today with the shadows, I look up to the sky and whisper a prayer. You're out there, somewhere, too, under this vast sky. I bear with the tears even as I tremble. Even when the darkness threatens to swallow me, don't forget, there will always be a place for you to come home to, and people waiting for you, Mira sang and the crowd cheered. All was well. Natsu yelped in pain as Gajiel stood on his foot, causing him to stand up and turn on the Iron Dragon Slayer. What the hell was that for? You did that on purpose. Shut up. Stop interrupting Mira-chan's song. A random guild member shouted as he and his friend hurled a pair of mug at the two dragon slayers. Here we go, Naruto grinned. Okay, who threw that? Natsu yelled as he flipped over the table. Damn it, Natsu, stop screwing around. Gray shouted as he stood up, accidentally knocking over Urza's cake that she was just about to eat. My, strawberry cake, Urza muttered as his eyes darkened. Oh no, Naruto shivered. Naruto-kun, I recommend that we retreat immediately, Itachi spoke up. Too late, Naruto winced as Urza jumped to her feet, knocking WN Elfman with one kick and jumping into the fray. It's just another day in Fairy Tail. I guess this is no time for ballad, huh? Mirajan mused before in an instant she tore off the dress leaving her in a miniskirt and revealing top. Let's rock this house, then. This place hasn't changed a bit, Lucy commented as she took cover. But then, I guess that's what makes it Fairy Tail. Why, couldn't they just bottled it up for one day? Makarov asked darkly. Tomorrow is the day the reporter comes to collect data on the guild. Reporter. Lucy turned sharply. Cut it out, you lowlifes. Clean this place up, Makarov shouted. Oi, Gramps, Natsu yelled back. Don't go all giant on us. Author's notes. This was mostly a filler chapter and acts as a buffer between the previous story arc and the next. As you can see, there are several noticeable differences when compared to canon, especially where Team Jello is concerned. For the record, Itachi didn't fight all out in the battle with Jello but instead fought to conserve chakra and buy time for Naruto to reactivate his Sage mode. Once that happened, Itachi fell back to protecting the others as Naruto engaged Jello in combat and won. Remember that Jello was recognized as one of the 10 wizard saints and one of the strongest mages of the modern era. I didn't mean for Itachi to appear weak or anything, just that he had decided to hold Jello off instead of fighting all out right at the start. I mean, come on, this is Itachi Uchiha we're talking about, so don't you think he'd be thinking a few steps ahead? I mean, come on, in canon he gave Sasuke the Amaterasu to use against Tobi right before he died, and he also gave Naruto Shisuizai in case Sasuke decided to go against Konoha. I thought it was pretty obvious when I wrote it that Itachi was conserving his chakra in preparation for any fallback plan Jello had in place. Translation. Amaterasu equals illuminating heaven, Kekkei Genkei equals bloodline limit. Please read and review. See y'all later. And so it begins. Disclaimer. I do not own Naruto or Fairy Tail. Naruto. Fairy Tail Chronicles. Chapter 10. And so it begins. Earthland. Magnolia Fairy Tail Guild. It really is noisy in here, Lucy commented as she leaned over the table. The others in the guild were as rowdy as ever and it didn't seem like it would end anytime soon. It can't be helped, Urza shrugged as she stood to the side wearing her new armor. This kind of fairy tale spirit isn't bad, is it? Hey, Urza has changed as well, Lucy smiled knowingly. Really? Urza asked with a raised eyebrow. Before it was, you better clean that up. Or, how dare you? Get back to work, but now you're joining the party with us. Relaxing a bit once in a while is a teenage attitude too, you know, still it makes me wonder why you've changed, Lucy smirked. Or should I say who changed you? I don't know what you're talking about, Urza denied. Naruto is a nice guy, Lucy grinned and brought her hand to her chin in a thinking pose. I wonder if I should go out with him sometime. That is not going to happen, Urza said clearly. Oh, and why is that? Lucy's grin widened. Because just quit it already, Urza stammered and turned away. Why won't you just admit that you like him? Lucy asked her. It's complicated, Urza replied. He lost his home, his friends and his master in a matter of days. Then he left to train to get strong enough to avenge them, and then there was that whole mess with Jello at the Tower of Heaven. He likes you, Lucy spoke clearly. He may not know it and he seems to be as dense as they come, but it's clear that he would do anything for you. I know, Urza whispered in response. Oh, Titania Urza, a new unfamiliar male voice echoed from behind them. Oh my god, the real person. The real Urza is so cool. Is this the guy from the Weekly Sorcerer? He looks excited, Lucy commented with a sweat drop. You've come, Urza mused at the sight of the strange reporter. I'm sorry, the reporter. Jason bowed. Please excuse me. My name is Lucy, Lucy introduced with a dazzling smile. I'm Urza's friend. If it's all right, can I ask a few questions? Jason questioned Urza as they walked away, completely ignoring Lucy's presence. Go ahead, Urza sighed. What the hell? Lucy thought in shock. How many armors do you use to rekey more than 100? Urza answered. Cool, Jason exclaimed. Which do you like most? The bunny suit, Urza replied as she re-equipped a pair of bunny ears and a white fluffy tail on a skin-tight suit. The bunny suit. Those ears are cute. Cool. Jason squealed. What the hell is going on here? Urza froze at the sound of that very familiar voice. Huh, Jason uttered as he looked over his shoulder to see a young man. Probably around 16, wearing a red trench coat with black flames on the bottom of it over a black and orange jumpsuit. He had blonde hair, blue and 6 whisker-like marks on his cheeks. Oh, you're new. Is there a problem here? Urza, Naruto asked the redhead, preferring to ask her instead of the reporter. That outfit. Bunny. Damn, I need a cold shower after this. No, everything is fine. Urza reassured as she re-equipped her armor back on. Is he your boyfriend? Jason asked Urza. No, I mean. Urza stammered out in surprise. It's Gray. The real Gray over there. Jason yelled. As she ran across the hall towards the ice wielder. What the hell was that about? Naruto blinked. It's just an interview, Urza replied. Nothing more. Shouldn't we stop this? Naruto asked. Natsu slugged the reporter across the face and another brawl broke out. Let them be. Urza sighed and shook her head. Everyone, look over here. I'm going to sing. Lucy called out, drawing everyone's attention to her. She was now dressed in a bunny suit of all things and was standing on the stage. Damn, Naruto muttered only to receive a smack across the head by Urza. Quit staring, the redhead hissed at him. If you are going to stare, then stare at me when I wear that suit. Sorry, Naruto apologized as the light cut off, darkening the room. What the hell, is Mira-chan performing today? Suddenly the curtains parted at the stage, lit up to reveal a shocked and mortified Lucy standing next to a sitting Gajeel whom was wearing a white business suit and had a guitar in his hands. You've got to be kidding me. There aren't many things that can entertain. Gajeel started to sing, though the music was a far cry from perfect. I was a stray wolf, but now that I'm accepted by you guys, then I should get closer to you. Even though we were enemies before, now we're friends. This is a song I wrote called Best Friend, so listen up. At least he's got some decent lyrics, Naruto commented. Colorful shubdoda, the melody of the blue metallic. Do 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 shalayla, shubidoda shalayla. What the fuck is this? Naruto asked with wide eyes as she covered his ears. I'm not sure if I should be sorry for him or for everyone listening to this. I bite those honeys tightly. Gajeel stopped and turned to the still frozen Lucy. Oi, be my dancer. Dancer, Lucy exclaimed. Dance, Gajeel ordered. Yes sir, Lucy said sharply and started to cry as she danced at his side. Shalalalala, Gajeel continued. Cool, the absurdity is resounding. It's the hit song of the year. Jason cheered as tears of joy started to fall from his eyes. What is that guy smoking? Naruto asked Urza, who waved away his concerns. Shubidoda. Gajeel was still going. What's a shubidoda? Lucy asked him. Someone stop this guy already. Earthland. Magnolia, Central Park. Why did you guys call me here? Gajeel asked, annoyed. I've got a job to do. Job? This coming from the guy who destroyed the guild. Jet sneered at him. You can go to any other guild to take missions. Have you no shame? Droy added. You guys can hold a grudge, Gajeel said, amused. Can't just let bygones be bygones, huh? Jet, Droy, don't. I'm over that, really. Levi spoke from behind the tree behind them as she remembered the incident where Gajeel had attacked them and nailed them to the tree she was currently hiding behind. This is our limit, Jet continued. You're ruining our guild's reputation, Droy declared. HMPH, Gajeel smirked. You won't act so casual for long. Jet yelled as he rushed forward in a burst of speed and threw out a punch. Nakuru Kurinto, Droy exclaimed as he hurled several green seeds into the ground beside Gajeel. Dozens of vines in the shape of hands emerged from the soil and bombarded Gajeel's form as Jet disappeared in a burst of speed. Jet reappeared above him a moment later and landed a bone-shattering kick to his midsection, sending him crashing down to the ground. Hey, Jet sneered. What are you up to? That can't be it for your power, Droy added confused. You're being picked on. Huh, a new voice spoke from behind them. Laxus. Dro. Y asked in surprise as everyone turned towards the newcomer. So, this guy is the punk that turned my guild into a mess, Laxus sneered as he approached. And that old fart, he let you join for some lame reason. It's because of this that we're looked down upon, damn it. Rijingu Boruto. A bolt of yellow lightning shot down from the sky and struck where Gajil is standing. It's all your fault, He yelled as he unleashed another bolt of lightning at the Iron Dragon Slayer. Saint stop, Laxus, Jet shouted. You're going too far. It doesn't matter how strong Laxus is, he should be able to fight back, Droy said with wide eyes. Could it be that Gajil was, from the start? He wanted us to recognize him as a comrade, Levi spoke with a look of horror. So he didn't fight back. It's all your fault that we're being made fun of. Laxus snarled as he kicked Gajil away. Why don't you just die? I'll kill anyone who goes against Fairy Tail. That's enough, Laxus. Jet shouted again. Shut up. Little weaklings should keep quiet. Laxus yelled back as he hurled a lightning bolt at them, or more specifically at Levi. Gajil pushed himself to his feet and quickly moved in between Levi and the yellow lightning. His arm turned into an iron club and used it to shield her from the attack. Gajil, Levi asked surprised. He protected Levi, Droy stammered in shock. You, Jet trailed off. I believe that's enough. A new voice spoke from the side, catching their attention. Itachi. Gajil winced as the Uchiha approached. You've got work to do, Itachi told him as he passed. Get going. Fine. Gajil conceded and started walking away. But, Levi stammered. Don't worry about me, Gajil waved it off as he staggered away. You dare to interfere, I'll deal with you too, Laxus said with a glare. It's too late for that, Itachi responded. I have already trapped you in my genjutsu. You're what? Laxus questioned only to see Itachi burst into dozens of black crows. Your strength of body is impressive. However, your strength of will has much to be desired. Itachi spoke from all around him as he felt his consciousness leave him and he fell face first to the ground. What did you do to him? Jet asked, shocked that Laxus could be defeated so easily. He appears to have very little mental strength, Itachi replied. I merely took advantage of that. This guy, he's on a whole other level, I mean. I know we saw what he could do when he fought Naruto, but still, to defeat Laxus with one move, even the master would be hard-pressed to do such a thing, Droy thought. We should leave, Itachi spoke clearly. It won't be long before he overcomes my genjutsu and breaks, so we should withdraw before he regains consciousness. Yeah, Jet agreed. Are you sure we should just leave him like this? Levi asked worried. Itachi responded seemingly unconcerned as he started walking away. Come on Levi, Jet gestured for her to come out from behind the tree. Okay. Levi nodded and the three members of Team Shadowgear followed the lone Uchiha away from the unconscious blonde mage. Later that night on the outskirts of Magnolia, 6 cloaked figures stood with their backs against the moonlight. All 6 had a series of black piercings covering their faces and each one had a different style of orange hair. Their cloaks bore a distinct red cloud day. IGN and their eyes were gray with black rings circling his pupils. It's time to begin. Author's noteplay lacks a strength here, but Itachi did have surprise on his side and no one from Earthland can disrupt their chakra besides Jelil, and he could only do it because foreign energy was making him crazy. I honestly don't think Laxus would be a match for Itachi without prior knowledge of his ability. Wise and Itachi is regarded as the greatest genjutsu user since Madara. Translation. Nakuru Purinto equals Knuckle Plant Rijingu Boruto equals Raging Bolt. Please read and review. See y'all later. Fairy War Part 1. Disclaimer. I do not own Naruto or Fairy Tail. Naruto. Fairy Tail Chronicles. Chapter 11. Fairy War Part 1. Earthland. Magnolia Fairy Tail Guild. Miss Fairy Tail Contest. Naruto asked confused. It's a beauty contest, Gray explained. I know that Lucy and Juvia have entered, but I'm not sure who else has. We didn't have anything like this back in my old home, Naruto said as they stood in front of the stage. People of Magnolia Town, and people from nearby towns. A booming voice spoke as a fairy tale guild member Naruto hadn't met stepped onto the stage. And those who especially came from the underworld. Don't forget to go back to your graves when it's over. Okay, and for what you have all been waiting for. That fairy tale beauties will perform on this stage. Let the contest begin. The crowd cheered as he continued. The announcer will be me, the Sand Mage Max Allure. That guy, for him to take responsibly. Gray shook his head and turned to Natsu, whom was currently eating. Hey, are you even listening? You don't think that Urza is in this thing, do you? Naruto asked. Probably. Gray winced. She'd never refuse a challenge, no matter what it is. May I introduce to you our first contestant, Miss Kana Alberona. Max proclaimed, and the crowd went wild as Kana stepped onto the stage. She threw out dozens of cards and they started to spiral around her, concealing her form from view. Wow, the cards are covering her body. Suddenly the cards peel away, revealing Kana, now dressed in a bikini with her fairy tale stamp on display on the side of her very slim stomach. She changed into a swimsuit. Damn, Naruto grunted as he clutched his now bleeding nose. Despite the fact that he proclaimed to hate perverts, there was no denying that with Kakashi and Jiraiya as his teachers, he didn't really have a chance. I need a cold shower after this, he thought as he watched her walk off stage. Second contest, the new S-class member, the lovely Miss Juvia. Max X claimed as Juvia stepped out onto the stage and suddenly turned into water. Gray-sama, are you watching? Juvia smiled as her clothes changed into a swimsuit and water cascaded around her. Wow, her performance also comes with a swimsuit. Max commented. You know, I think Juvia likes you, Naruto mused. Like you're one to talk, Gray shot back. Urza has been hanging around you more than she used to. What does Urza have to do with anything? Naruto blinked in confusion. This guy can't be that dense, can he? Gray thought in disbelief as Juvia walked off stage. And now here is the third contestant. Her beauty can make all the men in Earthland drunk, Miragen. Max declared as Mira appeared. Even Mira-chan is in this? Naruto asked in surprise. He'd heard that she was in that Kaylee Sorcerer magazine as a cover girl, but he'd never thought she'd enter a beauty contest like this, even if it was fairy tale. Her chakra is still different than a normal human's, Itachi thought as Mira took center stage. Her brother's is similar, however hers seems to be far denser. I am very skilled at transformation magic, Mira said, and her head transformed into Happy's. Just the face, Gajeel. True to her words, Happy's head suddenly turned into Gajeel's. That's just not right. Naruto shivered at the sight of Gajeel's face on a woman's body, especially Miragen's. Now for our fourth contestant. Max continued. The strongest woman in fairy tale, Urza Scarlet. She really did enter, Naruto thought as Urza walked out in her regular armor. I'll let you witness that re-equip that I've reserved. Urza whispered and re-equipped a maid outfit. Hey, I won. Damn. Naruto trailed off as he watched her turn and walk off stage. Naruto. Hey, Earthland to Naruto, hello. Gray called, but Naruto just stood there in a daze. We've lost him. Fifth contestant. The fairy, the cute and knowledgeable, Levi Magarden. Max exclaimed as Levi stepped onto the stage, and with her GIC she created several large colored words in the air around her. It's Levi. Jet and Droy cheered for their teammate. Sixth contestant. The sexy cowgirl, Biska Mulan. Max declared. Super cute, Alzak smiled. Seventh contestant. The super rookie. Give it up for Lucy H. Max started only for Lucy to jump out at him and stop him. No, don't say my last name. Lucy yelled at him. Name? Itachi inquired. Don't ask. Naruto sighed, remembering the war with Phantom Lord. If people know my dad is rich, I won't be able to get the money, Lucy thought as she waved at the crowd. Well, I'll dance with my stellar spirits. Number 8, a new voice spoke from behind her. Wait, I haven't even started yet, Lucy began as she turned and saw the newcomer. If you talk about the greatest fairy, then it's me. The woman spoke clearly. If you talk about beauty, then it's me. That's right, it's all me. The champion will definitely be me, Evergreen. It's boring, so we'll end this beauty contest here. Evergreen. Gray's eyes widened in shock. She came back. Elfman added just as surprised. Who is she? Naruto asked as Itachi narrowed eyes at the woman. Quit playing around. This beauty contest concerns my living. Lucy yelled back at the woman. Lucy, don't look into her eyes. Gray shouted quickly. What? Lucy asked, confused at his words. What did you say, little girl? Evergreen questioned as she lifted her glasses and the two made eye contact. A moment later, Lucy froze and turned to Stone. What is that, Stone? Is this a performance? This is terrible. Everyone, run. Max shouted to the audience and they hurriedly ran out of the guild. What are you doing, Evergreen? Are you trying to ruin the festival? Makarov demanded. Doesn't a festival have a main show? Evergreen asked, amused as the curtains behind her were pulled up revealing the previous 6 Miss Fairy Tale girls, turned to Stone. Urza. Naruto's eyes widened as the sight of the redhead. She turned those in the waiting room to Stone. Max stammered as he fell back. Sis. Elfman called out to the petrified Mira. There must be a way to return them to normal, Itachi thought as he looked over at Mira. You fool. Turn them back to normal. Makarov ordered in anger. Oi! Fairy tale idiots. There was a flash of thunder and Laxus suddenly stood on the stage with 2 other males at his side. The real festival begins now. Laxus. Makarov asked, surprised. Freed and Bixlo too, Gray gritted. The Ragenshu, Laxus bodyguards. Why don't we play a game, old man? Laxus sneered. Don't do something stupid. Makarov spoke clearly. We have to get ready for Fantasia. Turn them back to normal now. Fantasia is late at night, Laxus responded knowingly. If we hurry, people might get to see it. He called forth a bolt of yellow lightning from above and sent it at Lucy. Stop it, Makarov roared. Senjutsu. Senenmoto, Naruto whispered and disappeared a burst of speed. Eri appeared beside the other petrified girls with an unharmed Lucy in hand as the lightning bolt struck behind him. You know, I let a lot of bad stuff slide where I'm concerned, but, the moment you dared to attack one of my friends was moment that you really pissed me off. He turned sharply with his Sharingan spinning wildly. He has the same eye as that freak from the other day, Laxus thought. You may have saved one of those girls, but can you save all of them? He sneered as he gestured towards the rest of the petrified girls. I'll destroy them all if you break my rules. Like I said, this is the main show. They're taken as a joke, Laxus, Makarov spoke obviously furious. Of course, I'm serious, Laxus chuckled in response. I can only make 5 sage clones and there are 7 hostages. A regular shadow clone isn't fast enough to dodge one of those lightning bolts, Naruto thought quickly. What now? It's just a game, to find out who, Freed began. Is the strongest mage in Fairy Tale, Bixlo finished. The rules are simple, Laxus bellowed. The last survivor wins. Fairy Tale fight starts now. A second later a table was blown up into the air and fell to the side of the room causing silence to reign. Isn't this great? This is way too easy to understand. I'm revved up. Natsu grinned as he pumped his fist into the air. Natsu, you're always up for a good time, aren't you? I kind of like that. Laxus smirked in amusement. Natsu. Makarov trailed off as the Fire Dragon Slayer stepped up to his side. This is a festival, right, old man? Let's go. Natsu was about to launch himself at Laxus when Itachi placed a hand on his shoulder. Your strength of will is admirable, however in this type of situation the best way to defeat an enemy is to remove their advantage from the battlefield first. Namely the hostages, Itachi told him. He's right, Makarov nodded as he looked over the 7 petrified girls. If you want to free these lovely ladies, you'll have to defeat us first. Evergreen explained. There are 4 of us, and about 100 of you. We're at a disadvantage, she laughed at her own words. The time limit is 3 hours, if you cannot defeat us before that time is up. Then these girls will be reduced to sand. Thank you for informing me. Itachi bowed his head in acknowledgement and raised it back up to reveal his eternal Mangekyo Sharingan. Amaterasu. Black flames exploded from his eyes and engulfed Evergreen, making her scream. Laxus saved her by turning his body into yellow lightning and quickly disappeared in a burst of speed along with Freed and Bixlo. He's fast, Naruto growled out. I can sense them, they're outside and they're splitting up. Probably heading for each corner of the town, Itachi added. He's gone. Hide and seek with the whole damn village to play in, damn that Laxus. Why, that absolute moron. I've got to save Ne-chan and the others. Elfman roared as he barged through the main door, and ran out of the room with most of the guild following close behind. Damn those assholes. Capture Laxus. Hell, I'm gonna smash him to pieces. How dare he look down on us. Biska, I will save you, no matter what. Alzak promised and left with the rest. Damn him, I'll put him in his place. That damn brat. Makarov roared in outrage as he followed the crowd only to run right into an invisible wall. What are you playing at, old man? Gray asked him. What is this? I cannot go any further. There is an invisible wall. Makarov strained as he pushed against it. What's wrong with you, at a time like this? I'm not seeing any invisible wall, Gray responded as he tried to pull the old master through the doorway, even resorting to lifting him off the ground and trying to drag him through. There's a seal in the air above you, Itachi spoke up as a series of purple runes hung in the doorway above them. As this Freed's enchantment, Makarov mused. Enchantment? Gray asked. A form of barrier, Makarov explained. It's a form of magic placed upon a location, designed to trap those who stray within its borders. It must be inscribed in these runes all around the building. Those who stray within the enchantment are placed under certain rules, and without following them, escape is impossible. Look, rule. Those above the age of 80, and are stone statues, may not pass. What the hell is with this magic? It's like some kid saying, because I said so, and it actually works. Gray exclaimed. That is a very dangerous ability, Itachi mused. It takes time to inscribe an enchantment like this, as such. It is practically useless in ordinary combat, but incredibly effective as a trap, Makarov continued. So what, because of this magic, you won't be able to get out of here? Can't you just destroy it? I mean, come on, Gray gritted out. An enchantment's rules are absolute, Makarov responded. And this one encompasses both age and substance. Damn you, Freed, when did you become this powerful? In other words, he never intended to let you take part in this from the start, Gray mused darkly and turned away. Well, I guess we'll just have to give it our best shot. Why is it affecting me? Natsu shouted angrily as he banged on the invisible wall. Me too, Naruto growled out as he punched it. I really hate barriers. Are you over 80, Natsu? Makarov asked incredulously. Of course not, Natsu yelled back as he continued to punch at the invisible wall. It must be affecting you because of the Kyuubi, Itachi mused as he looked over at Naruto. Damn it, Naruto gritted out and stepped back. Well then, if I can't go through it I'll just have to go around it. He bit his thumb and formed a series of hand seals. Kuchio's no jutsu. He slammed his H, and down on the ground and Gamakichi appeared in an explosion of smoke. Yo bro, Gamakichi greeted. What's going on? Long story short, there's a civil war going on and I'm trapped inside a barrier that I can't get out of. Can you reverse summon me to Myobokuzen and then back to Earthland? Anywhere in the town would do, Naruto asked. Sure, Gamakichi nodded. It's not like we haven't done it before. He disappeared a moment later in a poof of smoke. I'll see you guys on the outside. Naruto waved at them before he too disappeared in a poof of smoke. Itachi, Gray, Makarov spoke up. Go, after Laxus and end this before it gets any worse. Right, Gray acknowledged. Itachi nodded and the two turned to leave. I'm not gonna show any mercy just because he's your grandson, Gray said clearly as they left. We're taking Laxus down. We should split up, Itachi suggested. We'll cover more ground faster. Yeah, Gray agreed and the two split apart, heading in opposite directions through the city. Earthland. Magnolia Ocean. Gyuku Kuchio's no jutsu. Gamakichi bellowed as Naruto appeared in an explosion of smoke. After returning to Myobokuzen he had then used one of the water passages to travel to Earthland in order to reverse summon Naruto. The easiest water passage to access was the ocean behind the Fairy Tail Guild itself, which was where Gamakichi had summoned the blonde sage. Thanks Gamakichi, Naruto nodded. Anytime bro, Gamakichi responded. So you've finally arrived, a new voice spoke as a figure landed on the water in front of them. Who are you? Boruto questioned and then narrowed his eyes when he saw what she was wearing. It was a black cloak with red clouds emblazoned on it. Akatsuki. Laxus certainly played his role well. The newcomer was a girl with orange hair. She looked about 16 and had numerous black piercings on her face along with 2 gray eyes with circles around the pupils. Kuchio's no jutsu, she whispered and slapped her hand down on the water. A moment late 5 different people, all with the same hair, piercings and eyes appeared at her side. 6 people with the same eyes, Naruto thought as he clenched his fists at his side. This is pain, bro, Gamakichi asked. Head on back to Myobokuzen and tell Fukasaku-sensei and Shima Obukan that pain is here in Earthland. I might have to summon them for this, Naruto told him. Right, Gamakichi nodded and disappeared in a poof of smoke. Surrender the Kyuubi and I will make your death as painless as possible. Resist and I will take you by force, Pain demanded. You want the Kyuubi? Come and get it then, Naruto snarled as his uncovered Sharingan quickly shifted into its Mangekyo form. Author's notes. And the fairy tale civil war begins. Naruto Ge. TS set to battle Pain while Itachi enters the war with only one target in mind, Laxus. In other news I've been getting requests to have Itachi hook up with Miragen and to be honest I have they'd make an interesting couple but it's extremely hard for me to think up scenes concerning just the two of them. I mean Itachi Uchiha is the textbook definition of a silent badass while Mira is the always smiling good girl. It's very difficult to write good scenes between the two. That being said I will certainly try and get Itachi and Miragen together in this fic. When I brought Itachi into this story thought he could be a good match for Miragen or Kana but I settled on Miragen when I realized it was even more difficult to write scenes between Itachi and Kana. I think I have a good idea how to get Itachi and Miragen together and hopefully it all works out. Everyone's wondering how Narutoverse characters are traveling to Earthland and no one has guessed right yet. That will all be explained later and it will actually shine some light on what has happened back in the elemental countries too considering everything that has happened there. Translation. Nakuru Purinto equals Knuckle Plant Rijingu Boruto equals Raging Bolt. Raijenshu equals Thunder God Tribe. Senjutsu. Senin Modo equals Sage Technique. Sage Mode Kuchio's no Jutsu equals Summoning Technique. Gyuku Kuchio's no Jutsu equals Reverse Summoning Technique. Amaterasu equals Illuminating Heaven. Please read and review. See y'all later. Fairy War Part 2. Disclaimer. I do not own Naruto or Fairy Tail. Naruto. Fairy Tail Chronicles. Chapter 12. Fairy War Part 2. Earthland. Magnolia Ocean. Kuchio's no Jutsu. Naruto whispered as he slapped his hand down on the water and both Fukasaku and Shima appeared at his side a moment later. We heard from Gamakichi, Fukasaku spoke first as he turned his gaze on the 6 paths of pain. This isn't going to be easy, Naruto boy. I could do with some help here, Naruto responded. The chubby one can absorb chakras and ninjutsu is useless against him. Fukasaku informed. The girl is new so she must be the one that replaced the summoning one that Jiraiya boy killed back in AIM. Any ideas about the others? Naruto asked. No, Fukasaku replied. All other information about him that Konoha gathered was lost when the village was destroyed. Damn, Naruto gritted. Well then, it looks like I'd better take out that absorbing pain first. How? Shima asked him. Kamui, Naruto whispered as he concentrated solely on the Preta path. Space and time distorted mere inches from Preta's chest and the spiraling vortex quickly pulled him in. He has the Mangekyo Sharingan like Itachi and Senjutsu like Jiraiya-sensei. This will not be as easy as the other Jinchuriki, Pain thought as his Preta path was ripped apart. 1 down and 5 to go. Naruto thought as he formed a familiar hand seal. Kage Bunshin no Jutsu, 5 shadow clones popped into existence at his side. Kuchio's no Jutsu, the animal path Y, spurred as she slapped her hand down on the water. A second later a giant rhino, a giant bull and a giant dog appeared in an explosion of smoke. They charged as one, running atop the water towards Naru. 2 and his clones who were currently readying their next attack. It's ready, go, the real Naruto shouted as 3 of his clones jumped at the approaching summoned creatures. Senpo. Udama Rasenrangan. The 3 Naruto clones exclaimed as they slammed 3 separate chakra spheres the size of their own body down on top of the attacking animals. Clear. They yelled as their attacks knocked the creatures out of the way. Futon. Rasenshuriken. The real Naruto called out as he hurled the chakra shuriken at the remaining 5 paths of pain. What is that jutsu? Pain thought as the chakra shuriken closed in. Shinra Tensai. Diva whispered, and a moment later the chakra shuriken fell apart, scattering wind chakra around his form. He repelled it. Naruto's eyes widened at the sight. You are clearly outmatched, Pain declared. Senpo. Rasenrangan. 2 of Naruto's clones dropped in from above and slammed twin chakra spheres down on both human and animal. What? Pain thought as his summoned creatures disappeared back to where they came. He created 5 clones, 3 of which engaged my summons, and he used the other 2 to aid in forming that chakra shuriken he used. Once he formed it, he must have had those 2 clones jump up while I was forced to maintain my concentration on his jutsu. Only 3 left, Naruto thought as his clones lunged at the remaining paths from different directions. Shinra Tensai. Diva exclaimed, and suddenly the shadow clones were blown away, destroying them. What the hell was that? That wasn't a shockwave, Naruto mused. Shirato. Asura spoke as it threw off its cloak, revealing a man with 4 arms, 3 faces and a blade-like tail. Its arms opened up and small missiles exploded out towards the blonde sage. Damn it, Naruto grunted as he jumped back. The missiles struck where he had just been standing and exploded, blowing him back while he was in midair. He landed back on the water's surface a moment later and looked over at his opponent, only to find that Diva stood in front of Naraku. To the side of Naraku was a thing with the Rinnegan and purple flames covering its bottom. What the hell is that? Jigokudo. Nara, who spoke clearly as a fully healed human and animal paths emerged from the monster's mouth. How the hell did he resurrect those 2? Naruto asked over his shoulder. I am unsure, Fukasaku answered. But Jiraiya boy killed 3 of them and Pain resurrected them later. So that thing must resurrect anyone who falls in battle, Naruto thought as he formed another hand seal. Why haven't you run out of Sage Chakra yet? Fukasaku inquired. Without Marai gathering it for you, you should have used up all of your own natural energy by now. I've found a way to gather it myself, Naruto replied. IED as he thought back to a very long discussion. Flashback no jutsu begin. So you can use natural energy? Makarov inquired. But power like that must come with serious risk. Yeah, Naruto nodded. I can control it, but I can only take in a certain amount, and when it's used up I have to remain still in order to gather more. I see. Makarov trailed off. That could be a problem should you see someone who is able to last long enough for you to expend all of your natural energy. We tried a jutsu to allow one of my toad summons to gather it for me, but the fox keeps interfering, Naruto grumbled. What about a lacrima? Makarov suggested. We could modify a lacrima to gather natural energy like we do for Itarian, though I admit it will have to be surgically implanted within you. You can do that? Naruto asked. Perliuzuka can. Yes, Makarov nodded. Alright then. Let's do it, Naruto nodded. If you're sure, Makarov agreed. I'll talk to Levi and see if she can help modify a lacrima for your use. Flashback no jutsu end. Taju Kage Bunshin no jutsu. Naruto called out as 1,000 clones popped into existence around them. An army will not save you here, Pain declared. We'll see about that. The clone army yelled back as they jumped at the 5 paths of pain. Senpo. Cho Udama Razan Tarangan. They exclaimed as they descended on their opponents with huge spinning chakra spheres in hand. That is not good enough, Pain thought as Diva launched himself up at the attacking clones. Shinra Tensai. With one mighty blast of gravity, the clone army was hurled back with an echoing pulse followed by dozens of explosions as the chakra spheres lost containment. What? Diva's eyes widened when he saw a chakra shuriken emerge from the smoke and sailed right at him. Futon. Rasenshuriken. Naruto called out as the chakra shuriken struck Diva dead center in the chest and expanded into a spinning sphere of wind and destruction, sending ripples across the water they stood on. Shirato. Asura muttered as he unleashed a beam of green light from his hand which had changed into what looked like a machine-like cannon. Kamui. Naruto exclaimed as space and time distorted in front of him, deflecting the blast as it closed in. Damn it, he thought as he felt Sage Mode leave him. So I was our human path appeared behind him. If I create more than 5 clo Nes then my lacrima can't gather sage chakra fast enough to maintain sage mode. It's over. Human spoke clearly and outstretched his hand to grab Naruto. Ning, he started only to freeze in place, when a familiar melody reached his ears and the ears of the other paths. Megan, Gamma Rinsho, Fukasaku and Shima called out together as the remaining 4 paths of pain found themselves in the Fami Lyre in a watery cube surrounded by 4 samurai toads. Now Naruto. Finish them. Naruto didn't have to be told twice and quickly withdrew 4 kunai from his weapon pouch before throwing them at the 4 motionless paths. The kunai struck each target in the neck and sliced right through, causing them to collapse and fall into the water that they had stood upon. We did it, Shima sighed in relief. Not yet, Naruto responded as he walked over and lifted the now headless human path out of the water. Senjutsu. Senin Moto, he whispered as he felt Sage Mode return to him. He removed one of the piercings from human's body and stabbed his hand with it. What are you doing? Fukasaku inquired. It was just for a moment but I know what I felt, Naruto replied cryptically as he closed his eyes. There you are, he muttered before turning towards the east forest. Where are you going? Fukasaku asked as he saw the blonde turn and start walking. To confront the real pain, Naruto answered. Single quote. I just hope the others can handle Laxus and save the girls while I deal with this guy. Earthland. Magnolia Cathedral. You're a difficult man to track down, Itachi spoke as he entered the cathedral. And you're a persistent guy. Laxus responded with his back towards the Uchiha. Unlike last time I will not fall to your little eye tricks, he said as he turned while making sure to keep his gaze at Itachi's feet instead of his face. Itachi grunted. Both Bixlow and Evergreen have very dangerous eyes. I know how to fight someone without looking at their eyes, Laxus continued. So it would seem. Itachi nodded as his eyes shifted into their eternal Mangekyo Sharingan form. Amaterasu, he whispered as black flames erupted from his eyes and shot at the blonde man in front of him. He's fast but I'm faster, Laxus thought as he encased his body in yellow lightning and evaded the black flames. He disappeared in a burst of speed and reappeared above Itachi. Rijingu Boruto, he exclaimed as he sent a yellow bolt of lightning at the Uchiha. Susanoo, Itachi grunted as he read spiritual bones formed around him. That level of skill will not be enough to defeat me, he spoke clearly as the lightning struck. So that is his true form, Laxus thought angrily and then snapped his head to the side when he felt something that he thought would never happen. Evergreen has been defeated. Then the hostages are now free. Single quote. Has something happened? Itachi inquired. The hostages have been released, Laxus gritted out with anger lacing his words. No matter, I will just have to the stakes of this little game of ours. Stakes? Itachi questioned further. I will use Kaminari Den and destroy Magnolia Town, Laxus declared. I cannot allow that, Itachi responded. Then let's continue. Laxus smirked as his body exploded in yellow electricity. Rai no Metsuryu Maho. He is a dragon slayer. Itachi thought in surprise. This will not be easy. This is your end, Laxus sneered as he disappeared in a burst of speed and reappeared right in front of Itachi. Raryu no Hoken, Enten. Kokuin no Tate. Itachi spoke clearly as black flames wrapped around the spirit bones forcing Laxus to back away. You are even able to manipulate those flames of yours that much, Laxus mused at the sight. I could never do that before, Itachi thought as he examined the black flames he had created. Is this the power of the eternal Mangekyo Sharingan? Just then the door to the cathedral opened allowing a single cloaked figure to enter. Reinforcements. So you're here, Laxus smirked at the newcomer. Mistogen, I never dreamed you'd actually decide to take part in my little game. Deactivate the Kaminari Den immediately, and you may still be able to pass this off as a mere addition to the festivities. Mistogen spoke clearly. This is my lucky day, Laxus chuckled. I'm sure you know, right? The rumors are flying left and right, about who is the strongest mage in fairy tale. Me, are you? I have little interest in such things, Mistogen responded. But I would propose Gildarts. Meh, he's no use, he isn't coming back, Laxus shrugged. Urza's showing a lot of promise and all, but she's still weak. Quote, Urza, weak. You must be as good as blind, or perhaps your current opponent has injured your head, Mistogen almost quipped. Look, I'm giving you a compliment here, Mistogen. Laxus smirked, though there seemed to be a flash of anger when Itachi was mentioned. Right now, the strongest member of Fairy Tail is one of us too. I would have to disagree, Itachi cut in. You and I are evenly matched, and even though I have gotten stronger, I know that I am no match for Naruto Uzumaki as he is now. Besides the master, Naruto is the strongest mage in Fairy Tail. So I have heard, Mistogen nodded. I believe he is currently in battle against 5 men and 1 woman with strange eyes. Pain, Laxus sneered. He came to me and offered to take care of that brat. Leader Sama is fighting Naruto-kun right now. Itachi questioned in surprise. How could Leader Sama have even gotten to this world? The battle is already over, Mistogen replied. Uzumaki defeated all 6 of his opponents and left to confront what I believe to be a 7th. It doesn't matter, Laxus shrugged. Let's settle this once and for all with the title of strongest at stake. Mistogen, or should I call you Jello? Jello, Itachi thought in surprise. Just then both Laxus and Mistogen hurled shockwaves at each other as Itachi jumped into the air. The windows shattered and the floor cracked as the entire cathedral shook from the clash. Itachi landed a moment later and kept glancing from Laxus to Mistogen as more the spiritual bones around him continued to form until Chi took the shape of a red humanoid skeleton. Where did you learn that? Mistogen inquired. Good question, Laxus grinned. Maybe I'll tell you if you beat me. You will regret this, Laxus, Mistog. And spoke clearly as he held up his staff. You are about to witness a form of magic never seen before. Bring it, Laxus dared. I'll show you just where you stand. Laxus, Chu voice called out as the doors to the cathedral swung open, allowing Urza and Natsu to enter. Urza, Natsu, Itachi nodded. Who is this guy? Natsu asked as he looked over at Mistogen. Mistogen, Urza asked. You're wide open. Laxus smirked as he threw out another bolt of yellow lightning. Rijingu Boruto. The attack struck Mistogen in the chest and sent him crashing into the wall beside the door. When the smoke cleared, Mistogen's mask was torn to shred, revealing his blue hair and very familiar face. Jello. Urza froze at the sight. You, Natsu said angrily. You're alive? Urza trailed off. Oh, a familiar face, Laxus asked mockingly. What's going on here? Are you saying that Mistogen is Jello? Natsu demanded. It would appear so, Itachi replied. Urza, I wanted you, at least, not to see this face, Mistogen sighed. What? Urza asked confused. I am not Jello, Mistogen told her. I know him, but he is not me. He turned away. I'm sorry, I leave the rest to you. Hey, Natsu called out, but it was too late. Mistogen was already gone. You stupid idiot. Fine, I'll deal with you later. Laxus, it's you I'm here for. Urza, I'll handle this guy, alright. When she didn't answer, he spoke again. Urza, Raryu no Hoko. Laxus bellowed as blast of yellow lightning exploded from his mouth right at Urza. Your opponent is me, Itachi spoke clearly as he quickly moved in the way and Susanoo completely formed around him. He brought down the Yata no Kagami to deflect the flaming Totsuka no Tsurugi for his counterattack. You're an annoying pest, Laxus sneered at him. That was Dragon Slayer magic. Natsu thought in shock. Just what are those things in the sky, Laxus? Urza questioned. The Kaminari Den. I dare say that you've heard of it. Laxus smirked. You're not planning to destroy the town? Urza questioned further. Ha 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 ha. It's a new rule, it hurts to have to use it. But, Laxus shrugged. You swine. Urza yelled as she quickly closed the distance between them and landed a kick to his chest, knocking him back several feet. 2 minutes to go, Laxus declared. Natsu, you have to destroy them. Urza shouted to the Fire Dragon Slayer. We can't destroy them, Natsu gritted back. Well, I mean, if we destroy them, then we get taken out with them. That is a problem, Itachi mused. Saitai Rinku Maho? Urza asked in surprise. That's right, Laxus replied with a wide smile. Nobody can lay a finger on those lacrima. You cowardly. Urza trailed off angrily. Fine, she turned and started walking back towards the main doors. Where are you going? Natsu asked her. Don't tell me you're going to try and stop the Kaminari Den. Quote, ha 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 ha, useless. Just destroying a single lacrima could cost you your life. There are 300 individual lacrima floating in the sky up there. And you're out of time. Laxus laughed. I'll destroy them all at once, Urza declared with absolute confidence. Impossible, Laxus bellowed. And even if you did manage, you'd die for sure. But the town will be saved, Urza responded, surprising Laxus. Itachi, Natsu, I'll leave Laxus to you too. Why you? Are you trying to destroy the rules of the game? Laxus demanded. I can trust you too, right, Urza? Natsu asked. And I don't mean on whether it's impossible or not. I mean you'll come out of this alive. Naruto and everyone else saved my life. I have no intention of wasting it, Urza thought as she ran out of the tower and towards the center of town. That girl is something else, Itachi thought as she disappeared from sight. Damn it, Laxus snarled as he lunged forward. Karyu no Hoko, Natsu bellowed as a large blast of fire exploded from his mouth. I am going to defeat you, here and now. Author's notes. Naruto defeats the 6 paths of pain and heads to confront the real pain, not to mention Konan. Most of Fairy Tail including Urza is spread out across Magnolia, dealing with the lightning lacrima floating over the town while Itachi and Natsu continues to battle Laxus. As you can see, I've given Naruto a lacrima to gather natural energy for Sage mode like Makarov gave Laxus in order to use Lightning Dragon Slayer magic. Even with one Nikio Sharingan in a fully sustained Sage mode, he still almost lost and was only saved because of the timely intervention of the Toad Elders, Fukasaku and Shima with their genjutsu. There's also Itachi's development to consider too. He's been compared to Madara in skill many times and for damn good reason. In canon, with both the Yata no Kagami and the Totsuka no Tsurugi along with Susanoo, he was all but invincible. Had he gained the Eternal Mangekyo Sharingan, he would have surpassed Madara just before his battle at the Valley of End against Senju Hashirama. And let's not forget that Madara looked like he was in his late 20s when he fought that battle, and Itachi is only 21 as of now. In this story he is still growing in power and strength as he would have done in canon had he actually taken Sasuke's eyes to attain the Eternal Mangekyo Sharingan. Translation. Rijingu Boruto equals Raging Bolt Kaminari Den equals Thunder Palace. Rai no Metsuryu Maho equals Lightning Dragon Slayer Ma. GIC Raryu no Hoko equals Lightning Dragon's Roar. Raryu no Hoken equals Lightning Dragon's Breakdown Fist. Karyu no Tekken equals Fire Dragon's Fist. Karyu no Hoko equals Fire Dragon's Roar. Saitai Rinku Maho equals Organic Link Magic. Kage Bunshin no Jutsu equals Shadow Clone Technique. Taju Kage Bunshin no Jutsu equals Multiple Shadow Clone Technique. Kamui equals Might of the Gods. Senpo. Rasenrengan equals Sage Technique, Spiraling Group Sphere. Senpo. Udama Rasenrengan equals Sage Art, Great Ball Spiraling Group Sphere. Senpo. Cho Udama Rasen Terengan equals Sage Art, Super Great Ball Spiraling Group Spheres. Futon. Rasenshuriken equals Wind Release, Spi. Rallying Shuriken Kuchio's no Jutsu equals Summoning Technique. Shinra Tensai equals Heavenly Subjugation of the Omnipresent God. Shirato equals Asura Realm. Jigokudo equals Naraku Realm. Ninjendo equals Human Realm. Megan. Gamma R. Insho equals Demonic Illusion. Toad Confrontation Chant. Amaterasu equals Illuminating Heaven. Tsukuyomi equals Moon Reader. Susanoo equals He with the ability by all means. Enten. Kokuin no Tate equals Blaze Release, Shield of B. Lack Flames. Yata no Kagami equals 8 Span Mirror. Totsuka no Tsurugi equals 10 Hands Long Sword. Please read and review. See y'all later. Fairy War Part 3. Disclaimer. I do not own Naruto or Fairy Tail. Naruto. Fairy Tail Chronicles. Chapter 13. Fairy War Part 3. Earthland. Magnolia Cathedral. Natsu. Prepare yourself, Itachi said as his spirit thunder god raised thrust forward with the Totsuka no Tsurugi. You little pests, Laxus sneered as he evaded the flaming sword. This man is a dragon slayer, like you, Itachi said to Natsu. A dragon slayer? Natsu asked in surprise. Since when? It surprised me too, Itachi nodded. A dragon slayer? Huh, a new voice spoke from behind them. Not like I care or anything, but he's still an enemy of the guild. Urza is rounding up everyone else to deal with Kaminari Den, so that leaves this guy. Gajeel. Natsu blinked in surprise. You're protecting the guild. Destroying it, protecting it, it's my choice, Gajeel responded. I thought there wasn't room for 2 dragons in this sky, Natsu grinned. Maybe not, Gajeel smirked back. But with all this damn thunder around, the sky isn't fit for flying. This is a one-time thing, all right. Damn right it is, Natsu nodded. I'm going to settle things with you one of these days. Settle your differences later, Itachi said to his new partners. For now we have an enemy to take down. Raryu Hotengeki, Laxus exclaimed as he formed a spear of yellow lightning in his hands and hurled it right at Itachi. That is not enough, Itachi spoke clearly as the lightning spear struck the Yata no Kagami. Ion exploded with a maelstrom of power. Unlike my predecessor, Madara Uchiha, my Susanoo has both the Yata no Kagami, which is said to be almost impenetrable, and the Totsuka no Tsurugi, which can see anything it touches into the jar held by Susanoo's third arm. Couple these with the other abilities of my eternal Mangekyo Sharingan and I am said to be invincible. Is that a boast? That doesn't sound like you, Laxus sneered. I am merely pointing out that unless you have a spell that can penetrate my defenses, you cannot defeat me, Itachi explained. I know just the thing, Laxus smirked at that, and his muscles seemed to enlarge as yellow lightning exploded from his form. Doragon Fosu, Natsu, Gajeel, now is the time, Itachi spoke clearly as both Susanoo's shield and sword disappeared. Karyu no Hoko, Natsu exclaimed as he breathed a large blast of fire at Laxus. Tetsuryu no Hoko, Gajeel called out at the same time as he expelled a tornado of wind and metal. Yasaka Magatama, Itachi whispered as his Susanoo threw several linked tomo. The 3 attacks merged into one and struck Laxus in the chest, exploding upon contact with thunderous force and shaking the whole cathedral. Did we get him? Natsu asked. However, this was soon followed by a wave of sheer power. What is this insane magic power? Gajeel stammered. This feeling, it's the old man's, Natsu answered with wide eyes. What is this? Itachi inquired. Master Makarov's ultimate spell of judgment, Natsu replied. Targeting everyone the user identifies as an enemy. Yosei no Horitsu, Laxus roared as light gathered in his hands. Yosei no Horitsu, the attack that defeated Master Jose in a single blow. Gajeel shivered at the memory of that spell. Stop, Laxus, Natsu yelled. That should CK that targets everyone the user recognizes as an enemy, Gajeel said shakily. Amaterasu, Itachi whispered and sent a wave of black flames at the lightning dragon slayer before him. If that spell is anything like the one that was used at the Tower of Heaven, then I cannot allow him to use it. Not good enough, Laxus roared as the light extinguished the inextinguishable black flames. Stop, Laxus, a new female voice called out from the door. Levi, Natsu shouted in surprise. You fool, Gajeel growled. What are you doing here? The master is, your own grandfather, is on death's door. Levi shouted at the top of her lungs. So please, just stop this, just go and see him. On death's door, Natsu muttered in shock. The old man is gonna die. Laxus, Levi shouted again. Well, that just suits me great. Laxus sneered. Looks like my chances of becoming master just went up again. Why you? Gajeel growled in disgust. Die fairy tale, Laxus roared. I'll build you up from scratch. A guild that'll make everyone tremble in fear. I'll make the ultimate guild. Not today, Itachi spoke clearly as his Susanoo pierced Laxus with the Totsuka no Tsurugi. When did you, Laxus? Gasped as the light of fairy law dissipated. You talk too much, Itachi replied. I won't seal you inside the jar, however I will seal your power until such a time as you are ready to wield it again. Why you can't do this to me? Laxus shouted as the flame sword in his chest pulsed and he felt his power leave him. We rise, you fall, Itachi declared. Karyu no Tekken, Natsu roared as he hot forward and slammed his flame-covered fist into the side of Laxus' face. And stay down, it's finally over, Itachi let out a small sigh as he felt Susanoo disperse around him. It looks like Urza and the rest of Fairy Tail have stopped Kaminari Den 2, Gajeel spoke up as he gestured over to the hologram displaying the status of the Lacrima. I knew Urza wouldn't let us down, Natsu grinned. Now all that remains is Naruto-kun and Leader Sama, Itachi mused as he turned away. Earthland. Magnolia outskirts. This must be it, Naruto thought as he approached a tall tree made out of paper. Rasengan, he exclaimed as he slammed a spinning chakra sphere into its side, blowing open a hole large enough for him to step through. Where are you? So, peace has arrived, huh? Spoke a male voice from the shadows. It took only a moment for his eyes to adjust to the darkness, but upon closer inspection he saw that it was a man with red hair sitting in a white walking machine, and he didn't look at all healthy. Judging by his eyes, he had the Rinnegan, and at his side was a woman with blue hair and an origami flower pinning her hair together. Are you the real one? Naruto asked plainly. Move aside, Conan. The redhead spoke and the woman moved out of the way. Do you hate me? Now that you see me before you, you want your revenge, don't you? The redhead asked the blonde Jinchuriki. If you kill Nagato and get your revenge, that won't change anything. It'll only make you feel better, Conan said clearly. You're right, Naruto nodded. But I didn't come here to talk to you, I came here to end this once and for all. Quote, then let's finish this. Nagato narrowed his eyes and a black chakra rod shot out of his chair. The chakra rod hit Naruto right in the stomach, forcing him to grunt in pain and clutch the wound. At this range I can easily control you with my chakra, don't worry, it's not fatal. As a Jinchuriki, you're very important to me after all. You know, you're seriously starting to piss me off. Naruto roared as the Kyuubi's sinister red chakra exploded from his form. He let me hit him, on purpose. Nagato's eyes widened as the Kyuubi's chakra condensed until Naruto stood before him with 6 swishing tails, red chakra skin and a white bone-like wrapped around him. Nagato, Conan gasped as she jumped between the two of them. I also came here to find out how I would feel when I finally saw you in front of me, Naruto snarled out. He still has control, Nagato thought. And I really want to kill you, Naruto growled and lunged forward. Get out of the way, Conan. Nagato yelled, but it was already too late. Naruto merely batted Conan aside with a back fist across the face. Damn it, he gritted out as Naruto lunged at him directly. Come here, Naruto roared as he landed on Nagato's chair and expelled blue and red spheres of chakra from his body. Oh no, Nagato's eyes widened as he saw Naruto start gathering the blue and red chakra spheres into a pitch-black chakra sphere at his mouth. Conan, run, yelled the god of rain as he brought his hands up into a seal. Ima, Naruto started. Bansho Tenin, Nagato exclaimed as he slammed a nearby boulder into the side of Naruto's chakra-covered face. The world was consumed in light a moment later. Earthland. Magnolia fairy tale. It looks like thanks to Perliuzuka-san his life is no longer in danger. Urza declared to the room. Don't worry, the master is going to be just fine. Thank goodness, a bandaged Lucy smiled. I was really worried for a while there. Hey, the old man's not gonna go out that easy. An equally bandaged Gray smirked. Still, his years are showing, if he's put under too much stress, his condition could worsen again. I'd like everyone to keep that in mind, Urza told them. I wonder how Naruto-kun is doing right now, Itachi thought. He knew that the blonde Jinchuriki could take care of himself, and according to Mistogen he had even aided the 6 paths of pain before heading out to confront what seemed to be a 7th. Are you all right? Mirajan asked. HN. Itachi grunted with a slight nod. Were you hurt? Mira inquired. What am I saying? Of course he was hurt. He was fighting Laxus. It is nothing a little rest will not cure, Itachi replied in his usual tone. I wanted to thank you for what you did, Mira said with a smile. Urza-san is the one who defeated Evergreen-san and freed you when you were turned to stone. I did nothing, Itachi stated clearly. You beat Laxus, Mira countered. Natsu and Gajil may have helped, but it was you that stopped Laxus from destroying all Magnolia. Perhaps, Itachi mused, only for everyone to stop when they felt the ground rumble. What was that? Natsu asked. Naruto, Itachi answered. I thought he'd returned by now, Urza said as she turned to the Uchiha. I didn't see him anywhere near Laxus or his team, so what's going on? Naruto-kun is currently in battle against my former employer, Itachi replied. Pain, the leader of the organization of S-class criminals known as the Akatsuki and the man who single-handedly destroyed Naruto-kun's home village in a single day. What? He's fighting that monster now? Urza yelled. Why didn't you say anything? Because in a fight like that, Itachi answered honestly. We'd only be in the way. I'm going after him, Urza declared and headed towards the main doors. Earthland. Magnolia outskirts. The power of the Kyuubi. Magnificent, Nagato thought as he shakily stood on his badly crippled legs. Nagato, Kon, and shouted from the edge of the newly formed crater. Stay back, Konan. Nagato yelled back as the dust cleared to reveal Naruto in six-tailed form once more. You have one fucked up notion of foul play, pal, Naruto growled at him. And it's pissing me off. Bansho Tenin. Nagato held up his hand and chakra pulsed from it. Naruto suddenly found himself being pulled towards Nagato as the Akatsuki leader hurled a large boulder at the chakra fox once again. What the fuck is with your jutsu? Naruto yelled as he stuck his tails into the ground and halted his fall towards the Rinnegan wielder. As the boulder came crashing down, he created a chakra arm from his chest and literally threw himself out of its way, letting it crash harmlessly to the ground where he had stood moments ago. Kuchio's no jutsu, Nagato exclaimed as he slammed his hand down on the ground, and in an explosion of smoke a large beer Naruto thought as Nagato took to the sky atop the bird's head. Come down here and I'd like a monster, you crippled bastard, he yelled as he belched out bolts of fast-moving chakra at his now airborne opponent. They bounced harmlessly off of what seemed to be a bubble around the bird, forcing him to fire off a beam of red chakra at the bird. Hold still, you overgrown rooster, he thought as the bird dived and evaded the compressed red chakra beam. His control over the Kyuubi is impressive, Nagato thought. This will not be easy. Come on, come on, come on, Naruto thought as he started charging red and blue chakra spheres into a black ball at his mouth. Amari, he limed as the black chakra sphere exploded right at the evading bird. Shinra Tensai, Nagato called out as the chakra sphere slammed into the side of his bird and exploded forward, washing over him. Nagato, Konan thought as she stared at the destruction around her. I need to end this now, Nagato thought as he dropped down in front of the chakra fox. I've got you now, Naruto yelled as he lunged forward with a spinning red chakra sphere in hand. Yoko Rasengan, Gakido, Fujutsu Kyuin, Nagato grunted as the spinning chakra sphere slammed into his chest. A second later the Kyuubi's chakra seemed to slide off from Naruto and was pulled into Nagato, seemingly rejuvenating him, and a moment later he appeared completely healthy. He's absorbing the Kyuubi's chakra, Naruto thought in surprise as he jumped away, putting some distance between himself and the now no longer crippled Nagato. Bansho Tenin, Nagato's hand pulsed again and Naruto found himself pulled towards Nagato once more. Damn it, Naruto grunted as Nagato grabbed him with his hand covered in blue chakra. Ninjendo, Nagato spoke clearly as he pulled his hand back with a white-blue ethereal something connected to it. I don't know what the hell he is trying to do, but it can't be good, Naruto thought as his Mangekyo Sharingan spun wildly. Kamui, he whispered as space and time distorted where Nagato's outstretched hand was forcing him to break their connection and jump back, away from the blonde. You can use all of your puppet's jutsu. This isn't a fight between ninja, Konan thought as she watched on. This is a fight between gods and demons. Surrender, Nagato spoke clearly. Your death will lead to peace. Peace, Naruto asked incredulously. You kill my sensei, destroy my village, ND slaughter my friends, and you have the nerve to speak about peace to me. What the fuck is wrong with you? You cannot possibly understand my pain, Nagato said clearly. I don't want to either, Naruto shot back. Shirado, Nagato exclaimed as his arm seemed to detach, revealing what Naruto had come to recognize as a small cannon. Green chakra started charging in its tube as he took aim and then fired one sustained beam right at him. Oh shit, Naruto cursed as his Mangekyo Sharingan spun wildly. Kamui, he called out as space and time distorted in front of him, drawing the blast in. Now, I know why Itachi said he could never beat pain. This guy is a fucking monster. Shibaku Tensai, Nagato whispered as he brought his hands into a triangle seal and a ball of compressed gravity formed in the center. No, Nagato, you can't use that jutsu with the amount of chakra you have left. Conan shouted from the sidelines. This is the Kyuubi we're dealing with, Conan. I can't afford to hold back. Nagato yelled back as he cast the gravity ball into the sky. This guy is using the same jutsu as his puppets, but he has the strength and speed to back it up. It's like fighting Itachi, Urza and Natsu at the same time. Naruto thought as the gravity sphere suddenly shone down light onto the battlefield. Oh shit, he added as he was lifted off of the ground along with most of the mountainside. How the hell do you beat something like this? This is your end, Nagato declared. Think damn it, that chakra ball he threw up into the sky must be what's causing all of this, Naruto thought as he saw the piles of rock that had been lifted up were smashing into the chakra sphere and forming some kind of moon, from it looked like. If that's true, then all I have to do is get rid of that chakra ball. He stared up at the new moon, and focused with all his might. Senpo. Kamui, he whispered as time and space distorted in the center of the new moon, and sucked it in. He destroyed Chibaku Tensai, Nagato thought in surprise as debris fell all around him. Damn it, I used up my sage chakra on that last jutsu, Naruto gritted his teeth as he fell and landed on his feet. Now what? You, Nagato trailed off. You have become a sage like Jiraiya-sensei. Jiraiya-sensei, Naruto snarled in anger. What the fuck are you talking about? Like you, I also studied by Jiraiya-sensei, Nagato replied. He desired peace and entrusted that peace to me. I intend to merge the Biju together and create a weapon so powerful it will cause pain and fear in order to prevent future shinobi wars. Pain, fear, like hell I'm gonna allow that. Naruto yelled back. You were his student, he trusted you, and you betrayed him. I will establish peace and order, Nagato declared. Any peace you create will bring nothing but suffering, Naruto responded with a glare. I'll stop you. Your fate is to be the sacrifice in order for me to establish peace, Nagato spoke clearly. Yo, you really need to stop underestimating me, Naruto gritted out as the debris around them burst into smoke. Take him down. When did he? Nagato thought as 1,000 shadow clones descended upon him from all sides. He must have done it right before he destroyed Chibaku Tensai and used the falling debris as cover. He took a deep breath and raised his hands. Shinra Tensai. With one mighty push he blasted the clone army away. It's over, he declared. Not yet, it's not, Naruto called out from above with a familiar spinning chakra sphere in hand. What? Nagato thought as he snapped his gaze skyward. It's too late for that jutsu. You haven't a ghost of a chance now. Rasengan, Naruto exclaimed as he thrust down as he descended towards his opponent. Gakido. Fujutsu Kyuin. Nagato spoke quickly as he absorbed the jutsu just as it connected. It's over, he said again as he grabbed Naruto and restrained him. Gakido. Fujutsu Kyuin. He is absorbing my chakra, Naru. To thought as he felt the last of his chakra being drained from him. The Kyuubi no Yoko has been captured, Nagato declared. Senjutsu. Senin Moto, Naruto whispered as he remained perfectly still, and slipped some natural energy into the rapidly his depleting chakra reserves. What is this? Nagato thought as he felt the unfamiliar energy enter his body and tried to alter him from the inside. Sage chakra is hard to control, don't you think? Naruto winced with a grin as Nagato pushed him away, causing the blonde to fall face first to the ground. What did you do to me? Nagato rasped, as he glared down at the exhausted blonde Jinchuriki. I just mixed in some natural energy required for Sage mode into the chakra you took from me, Naruto replied as he pushed himself back to his feet. Though I had thought it would turn you into a stone toad, but I think that Rinnegan of yours is trying to even in out with the rest of your chakra so you don't transform. You, Nagato glared as Naruto held out his hand and started forming another spinning chakra sphere. It's too late for that jutsu, I'll just blow it away like everything. Give up. Shinra Tensai. His chakra pulsed, but unlike before, nothing happened. With that natural energy in your system, your chakra control must be screwed, Naruto grinned as he lunged forward. Why don't you give up trying to make me give up? Rasengan, he exclaimed as he slammed the chakra ball into Nagato's unshielded gut. Impossible, Nagato thought as he was blown back and sent crashing into the side of a nearby cliff. Nagato. Conan show. UTED as she dropped down where her friend and And stay down, Naruto breathed. Naruto, yelled the voice of a familiar red-headed girl as she landed a few away atop a chunk of debris. What happened here? Natsu asked as he and the rest of Fairy Tail arrived at the edge of the crater. Are you all right? Urza asked as she rushed over to the blonde Jinchuriki as he swayed on his feet. I've been better, Naruto admitted with a wince. Damn, Nagato gritted out as Conan threw his arm over her shoulder and pulled him to his feet. It would seem your allies have arrived. What will you do now? Will you kill me and take your revenge? The shinobi world is ruled by hatred and my plan is the only one that has any chance of succeeding. I'm not going to kill you, Naruto sighed as he fell to the side only for Urza to catch him before he could hit the ground. The shinobi world may be ruled by hatred but I don't care, that has nothing to do with my life. Konoha is gone and so is any attachment I have with that world. I am no longer a ninja of Konoha, I am a mage of Fairy Tail. And Fairy Tail mages don't kill people, we just beat them until they can't fucking move, the moment the words left. His lips the gathered Fairy Tail mages around them cheered. We're letting them go, Urza asked him. Ero Sennin wouldn't want me to kill one of his students, Naruto replied with a smile. Let's go home and prepare for Fantasia. You're leaving? Nagato asked. Just like that, you gave up on everything Ero Sennin stood for, Naruto replied without looking back. Just because you've given up doesn't mean I have. You, Nagato trailed off. There is no peace, and there never will be as long as we continue to live in these accursed worlds. Then I will break that curse, Naruto declared as he stood and half turned back towards the Rinnegan wielder. If there is such a thing as peace then I will find it. The shinobi world is doomed to destroy itself but this world doesn't seem to be much different. I'll find a way to create true peace, because as long as humanity exists there will always be fighting. A little fight now and then is good and all but too much of it can consume you. No, that can't be, Nagato stared as his eyes widened. Nagato, what is it? Conan asked him. Those words. Nagato rasped out. Yeah, Naruto nodded. They're lines from Ero Sennin's first book. The book he wanted to change the world. The book that he based off of you, Nagato. It can't be, Nagato denied. It must be coincidence. If I've learned anything from joining Fairy Tail, Naruto grinned and turned away again. It's that there is no such thing as coincidence, he nodded to Urza and they resumed walking. Because the name of the main character of that book is Naruto. That boy, Nagato thought as he watched the mages of Fairy Tail laugh and joke as they headed back towards their guild. I wonder, could he be the child of prophecy that Jiraiya-sensei spoke of? Could Jiraiya-sensei have been mistaken when he selected me? Was all of this mere coincidence or, is this the plan, of a real god? Nagato, Conan asked worried. Conan, I'm sorry, Nagato sighed. We're leaving too. There's nothing for us left here, let's collect my paths and then leave this place. What about the boy? Conan inquired curious. Has that boy really changed Nagato this much? Leave him, Nagato responded as a small smile crossed his lips. My peace will never come now, but perhaps, his will. Earthland. Magnolia Marketplace. The Fantasia parade began at 9 o'clock with the appearance of a statue Happy sitting atop a fish-styled float with two bunny-styled floats following close behind. Dancers ringed around them as a dressed-up droid, Jet, Max and Alzak soon followed on a fruit-styled float. After that was a heart-styled float with Biska, Lucy and Levi wearing short dresses and waving fans around cheerleader style. Following close behind was Elfman in full beast mode wall. King down and waving to everyone he passed, happy that he finally had complete control over his form. Next was Gray and Juvia dressed as a blue king and queen with an ice castle they had created stand. Ing right behind them on their own float. After that was Urza dressed in something she called her demonstration armor, which was basically a white and red dress with night markings on it, a white breastplate, white and yellow gauntlets, and allowed her to be capable to spin various swords around her in a circle. Naruto stood right behind her with his arms around her waist while four of his clones stood at each corner of the platform with those familiar chakra spheres in their hands being held up to the sky. Next was Master Makarov's float where he stood atop what seemed to be a large red hat wearing green pants, a yellow shirt with purple sleeves, a pink tie, red gloves, a long yellow tail and a red hat with pointy yellow ears. He was dancing around with a grin on his face as Itachi followed his float close behind with the ethereal form of Susanoo overshadowing him and Mira riding on its shoulder wearing a long white dress. Finally Natsu was at the rear of the parade with Crimson Florida. Mies flickering behind him as he walked with Happy sitting the small green creatures that were pulling the mobile torches. Natsu turned his head up to the sky and lobbed a few fireballs into the darkness, letting them explode like fireworks. It's Fantasia. Awesome parade. It's the girls from the Miss Fairy Tale contest. So cute. They're fairies all right. And what's that? It's a castle of ice. There's water gushing all around it. Over there. It's Titania. Check out those swords. Marry me. As that guy with her, the one everyone's talking about. You know, the Maelstrom of Fairy Tale. Yeah, I think it is. Look at him with his arms around Titania, that lucky bastard. I would have thought she'd have stabbed him by now. Clearly not. It's the master. The master is here. What kind of getup is that? It does suit him. Come on. Stop making a fool of yourself already. Hey, is that guy the Dark Knight you were talking about yesterday? You know, the one inside that giant magic knight thing? Yeah, it is. And look, Miragenheim is riding on it. He's so handsome and he's so mysterious. Miragenheim is as beautiful as ever. Makarov stopped dancing and, with a serious and triumphant look, he put his hand up towards the sky, pointed one finger up and his thumb to the side before twisting his arm round so the back of his hand was visible. A second late, the other mages of Fairy Tale did exactly the same with smirks, grins and wide smiles as fireworks went off above the town. Fairy Tale wasn't just a guild, it was a way of life, of freedom and family. It didn't matter who you were or what you were, everyone in Fairy Tale was family, and in this world there was nothing more important than family. As the parade came to a close, Naruto couldn't help but grin as Urza slid back into his chest and smiled over her shoulder at him. Today wasn't so bad after all. Author's notes. And Naruto finally defeats Nagato while Itachi stops Laxus from using fairy law. Unlike in canon, this Laxus has no qualms about using fairy law to wipe out his opponents thanks to his earlier defeat at the eyes of Itachi several days before. Laxus in this story took that as a personal insult, and when he was contacted by Pain, who offered to deal with Naruto, Itachi's partner, he jumped at the chance for some payback. Also, the Naruto is much stronger in this story than in canon when the two fight. In canon, Naruto fights Pain with 3 Sage Clone batteries, limited chakra and no control of the Kyuubi Kurama. If he didn't have prior intel about the abilities of the 6 Paths of Pain and help from his father, Minato, to restrain the Kyuubi, Naruto would have lost that fight then and there. When Naruto faced Nagato in canon, he would not have stood a chance if the two had fought. And then you have to throw Konan into the mix as well. In this story, Naruto has a lacrima crystal embedded in his body that constantly absorbs natural energy whenever he wants in a similar way to the way the toads would merge with Jiraiya to gather natural energy for him to use. This virtually gives Naruto a truly limitless supply of chakra as long as he allows it to charge up in equal amounts to what he uses. He also has complete control up to 6 tails of Kurama's chakra, making him almost untouchable to all but the most powerful of enemies. Add in a single Mangekyo Sharingan, and I think he can face a healthy Nagato by himself and win. On another note, for those that haven't caught on, Itachi has the eternal Mangekyo Sharingan because Kurliuzuka created copies of his origin Mangekyo Sharingan and implanted them within him, thus allowing his eyes to evolve. From what I understand, both Madara and Sasuke harvested their brother's eyes because of their close relation so that the transplants could be smoother. Theoretically, an Uchiha with the Mangekyo could simply harvest a regular pair of Sharingan like Itachi said he would when he fought Sasuke, despite Sasuke not having awoken his own Mangekyo at the time. From what we've seen of Madara and Sasuke's Susanoo's, they're both very different and yet exactly the same. Sasuke started out wielding a bow, shield and arrow sword, yet evolved into a Susanoo similar to Itachi's without the Yata no Kagami and Tatsuka no Tsurugi. Madara's, on the other hand, has 2 separate bodies and multiple arms, which leads me to question if attain the eternal Mangekyo Sharingan actually grants the user additional power and chakra from the new eyes. Itachi's power was already formidable, so how strong do you think he'd be if his strength was doubled by harvesting eyes cloned from his own Mangekyo Sharingan? If that doesn't put him on pre-vote Madara's level, then I don't know what does. Translation. Kaminari Den equals Thunder Palace. Rai. Ryu Hotengeki equals Lightning Dragons Heavenward Halberd Doragon Fosu equals Dragon Force. Yosei no Horitsu equals Fairy Law. Karyu no Tekken equals Fire Dragon's Fist. Karyu no Hoko equals Fire Dragon's Roar. Tetsuryu no Hoko equals Iron Dragon's Roar. Amari equals Menacing Ball. Kage Bunshin no Jutsu equals Shadow Clone Technique. Taju Kage Bunshin no Jutsu equals Multiple Shadow Clone Technique. Rasengan equals Spiraling Sphere. Yoko Rasengan equals Demon Fox Spiraling Sphere. Futon. Rasenshuriken equals Wind Release. Spiraling Shuriken. Kamui equals Might of the Gods. Senpo. Kamui equals Sage Art. Might of the Gods. Kuchios no Jutsu equals Summoning Technique. Shinra Tense. I equals Heavenly Subjugation of the Omnipresent God. Bansho Tenon equals Heavenly Attraction of all of creation. Chibaku Tensai equals Heavenly Body Bursting from the Earth. Gakido. Fujutsu Kyuin equals Blocking Technique. Absorption Seal. Shirato equals Asura Realm. Ninjendo equals Human Realm. Amaterasu equals Illuminating Heaven. Susanoo equals He with the ability by all means. Yasaka Magatama equals 8 slopes curved jewel. Yata no Kagami equals 8 span mirror. Tatsuka no Tsurugi equals 10 hands long sword. Please read and review. See y'all later. Daybreak. Disclaimer. I do not own Naruto or Fairy Tail. Naruto. Fairy Tail Chronicles. Chapter 14. Daybreak. Earthland. Magnolia. Fairy Tail. A week passed and everything had gone back to normal, or as normal as it could get where Fairy Tail was concerned. Nagato and Konan had disappeared after their defeat and hadn't been heard from since. Itachi suggested that they may have returned to the shinobi world, however Naruto really didn't know what to think about them anymore. Laxus had been excommunicated from Fairy Tail by his grandfather, Master Makarov, and had left during the Fantasia parade. Naturally this caused some problems. Makarov himself had tried to take responsibility for Laxus' actions by stepping down as Master of Fairy Tail despite everyone trying to convince him not to do it. In the end, it was a single comment from Fried that made Makarov give up on the idea. Then there was Urza. Mistogen. Urza muttered under her breath as she sat at the table alone in the corner. Do you mind some company? Naruto asked as he approached. Have a seat. Urza nodded towards the chair opposite her. I heard from Itachi that Jello appeared in the fight against Laxus, Naruto said as he pulled out the chair and sat down at the table. The master doesn't really know anything about him, Urza uttered. He's been going by the name Mistogen while he was here. Maybe he was keeping an eye on you, Naruto suggested. I mean, it's not like he hasn't done it before when he infiltrated the council. I know that, Urza acknowledged, but this was different from what happened with the council. This Jello didn't seem insane or suspicious. In fact, he seemed almost sympathetic. Anyway, I heard the results. Naruto spoke up, changing the subject. Results? Urza blinked in confusion. The beauty contest, Naruto replied. Oh, Urza said, catching on. The Miss Fairy Tail contest, she sighed and smirked. Naturally I won. You did, Naruto nodded with a grin. Not to mention you looked as hot as sin in that maid outfit. He shook himself at that thought. Damn you, Ero Sennin, you've corrupted me. Then there was Fantasia. Urza sighed and then stared right into Naruto's only visible eye. I know it was my idea, but did you have to hold me that tightly? Air, Naruto stammered in response. I was still aching from destroying those lacrima, you know. Urza smirked as she stood up and stepped around the table. You could have been a bit gentler. Well, I thought you may have needed help standing up after that, Naruto replied. Despite the fact that your battle with pain exhausted you so much that I had to carry you back to the guild, Urza countered as she slid herself into a sitting position on the table and half turned towards the blonde. Come on Naruto, think fast, Naruto thought as his eyes unconsciously slipped down from her face to her curves. I wasn't that exhausted. Naruto, Urza said promptly. Do you have feelings for me? She clearly wasn't playing around anymore. For the last 4 months since he had joined Fairy Tail, the two had grown closer. Especially after the incident at the Tower of Heaven. However, the two had kept themselves busy and didn't stop to think on their friendship. However, after Naruto defeated Nagato and his 6 paths of pain, it was clear that things had changed between the two. They had grown closer than either of them thought they could, and now Urza apparently had enough of their constant stepping around the subject. Yes, Naruto bowed his head as an image of his old love Sakura flashed through his head. When Konoha was destroyed, it was clear that he would most likely never see her again and had long since discarded his feelings for her. Now here he was admitting his feelings for the only girl that had truly given him the time of day. Good, Urza smiled. Then you won't have any objections to what I am about to do. What? Naruto started only to be cut off when she grabbed his collar and pulled his lips to hers. He thought as he closed his only uncovered eye and kissed her back-headedly. All right, break it up you two. Miragen spoke up as she approached from the side and the two sprang apart. There's a place for that sort of thing. Yes, Urza said curtly as she stood and started walking away. Naruto, you're taking me out tonight, she spoke over her shoulder. Yeah, Naruto nodded as he stared after the red-headed beauty. What was it you told me, Ero-sennin? There is nothing hotter than a woman who can kill you, you said, and I told you that I didn't believe you and that you were just being a pervert like usual. I take back everything I said, you were absolutely and completely right. Urza is a strong woman, Miragen spoke up, catching his attention. Don't hurt her. I won't, Naruto declared. That's a promise of a lifetime. A few days later everything had returned to normal and the events of the previous month were forgiven but not forgotten. The few dates that Naruto and Urza had gone off really well, though Urza had refused to allow him to eat ramen on their dates. What'll I do? Lucy cried as she rested her head on the table. I wish I had a boyfriend. Sat down beside the blonde girl. What's with you all of a sudden? Lucy asked, looking up. Men. It's men. Kana replied like that explained it all. Go without a boyfriend for a while and I start getting the itch, you know. Lucy's face reddened at her words. What are you all embarrassed for? I'm not. Lucy stammered as she turned her head away to conceal her blush. Oh, Kana asked with a knowing smirk. How many guys have you gone out with? Maybe like 3. Lucy chuckled nervously. Yup, a total lie. Kana confirmed. Haven't you ever wanted a boyfriend? Sure, a little, Lucy admitted. But honestly, I don't really know, and it's not like there are many guys I like that way. Well, Urza has already sunk her teeth into Naruto and the rest are either hopeless like Natsu or total perverts, Kana mused. I may try my luck with Itachi. What about Natsu? Lucy asked. Sure, Natsu was hot-headed and everything but he was a good guy. Natsu? Kana sighed and shook her head. He never really got over Listena's death. Lisena? Lucy thought as she remembered seeing the white-haired girl's picture a few times. Listen up, everyone. Lucis never had a boyfriend. Kana shouted to the room. Don't tell everyone, Lucy cried. Fear not, Kana said as she turned back to the blonde girl. My cards have spoken. She took out a blue and white card. Today you will have a fateful encounter. A fateful encounter? Lucy asked in surprise, and a second later Urza ran past them wearing a purple dress. Urza, what's with the dress? Next is makeup, Urza responded as she stopped and looked over her shoulder at them. I can't stay like this. She took off running again. Shubuda Duda, Gajil sang as he slid past wearing his white business suit and a guitar in his hands. That's odd, Lucy commented. The harvest festival is over already, so. Didn't you know? Mira giggled as she approached carrying a plate of drinks. A reporter for the Weekly Sorcerer is coming to do an interview here. What? Lucy gasped in surprise. The source is coming. He said. He was writing a special feature on Fairy Tail, Mira added. Quote, interview, special feature, reporter, fateful encounter. Oh my god, Lucy said as her eyes widened. I can do this. I can totally do this. She chuckled darkly, forcing Mira to take an uncomfortable step back. Natsu, Lucis broke, Happy commented from the side. Maybe she ate something that went bad, Natsu suggested. Or maybe she snapped under the pressure of having to pay her rent, Gray mused. I can't stay here, Lucy yelled and took off running out of the door. Well, that was odd, Happy said in his usual tone. How the hell do you keep winning at this? Macau questioned as he threw down his cards. You said you've never even played before. I'm just lucky, I guess, Naruto shrugged with a grin as he placed his cards down on the table. It was a royal flush. I call bullshit, Droy spoke up. That's the 8th game we've played where you've gotten a royal flush. Yeah, Gray agreed as he leaned back wearing nothing but his boxer shorts. Gray-sama. Juvia stared misty-eyed from the side. We're not playing strip poker, Natsu told him as his cards burst into flames. Maybe you should worry about burning your cards every time you lose. Gray shot back. Are you trying to pick a fight? Natsu glared as he stood. You're pissing me off. Gray glared back and the two dissolved into a brawl, causing the others to sigh. Just another day in fairy tale, Naruto groaned as he leaned back his chair. So who is winning? Urza inquired as she appeared behind him still wearing her purple dress and gently massaged his shoulders. I am. Naruto purred as she slipped her hand up to touch the side of his cheek. Stop that. Why? Are these marks you have sensitive? Urza questioned further as she continued her task. Wipe those smirks off your faces before I pummel you all, Naruto said with a glare at the others who sat grinning at the table. Spoken like a man, Elfman proclaimed. I think I'll call it a day, Naruto said as he stood up, turned to his new red-headed girlfriend. You're taking me out tonight, Urza spoke clearly. It wasn't a request, it was a direct order, and the unmentioned possibilities of what would happen to him if he should deny her request were too gruesome for him to imagine. I'll pick you up at 7, Naruto responded. And I have to say that dress looks great on you. Finally, Jiraiya's teachings were proving to be useful. You think so? Urza asked back. I was thinking about changing it. Really? Naruto blinked confused. But I thought you liked it. I do. It just doesn't feel right, Urza replied. Truthfully, she had always preferred her armor over dresses and civilian clothing, a result of her time as a slave at the Tower of Heaven wearing nothing but rags. The armor signified her resolve and strength, so she normally wore them instead of regular civilian clothes like her friends. Well, I personally think that you look better in your armor, nah. Ruto smirked similarly to his fallen sensei, Jiraiya. Either that or nothing at all. Pervert. Urza whacked him upside the head for the mere thought. She turned away to hide her now red face that had turned the same color as her hair. He has been turning into more of a pervert as the day goes by, especially when reading those books of his, she thought as she saw Naruto recover and take out a familiar orange book. Naruto, fight me, Natsu yelled out his challenge. Huh, Naruto asked, turning towards him and looking up from the book. Did you say something? Karyu no Tekken, Natsu exclaimed. I ammed as he lunged forward with his fist now covered in orange flames. Rasengan, Naruto whispered as he charged a spinning chakra sphere in his right hand. The two attacks connected head-on and the floor around them cracked before they were both blown back. Natsu crashed into the stage while Naruto landed on the wall above the door and stood there on the wall itself, defying gravity and still reading his book. Natsu is at it again. Urza sighed. Earthland. Fury southern shoreline. Far to the south sat Nagato, not far from the cliff edge, with a sleeping Conan at his side as he stared out at the calm ocean. They had been traveling for days with no particular direction in mind, and they appeared to be seemingly lost on the road of life. Though if you were to ask him, he would tell you that he was waiting for something. You are a difficult pair to track down, a familiar monotone voice spoke up, breaking the silence. Itachi, Nagato grunted as the Uchiha approached from behind them. Quote, Madara thought that you had died after your battle with your younger brother. I did, Itachi confirmed. I assume that Madara didn't get my body. There was no body to recover, Nagato replied. He was quite angry at that. I'd imagine so, Itachi grunted. Though I am sure he has another way to gain the eternal Mangekyo Sharingan, he added in thought. And Sasuke, he is Madara's pawn now, Nagato answered. I see, Itachi said finally. What are you doing here, Itachi? Nagato inquired. You already know, Itachi responded. Naruto. So peace has arrived, huh? Nagato mused as he stared up at the moon. Then the time has come. Author's notes. Hi everyone, I'm back and I'm trying to update more often now. There were a few personal issues I had to work out, so I didn't really get much time to continue my fix, but now I'm back with this new chapter. It's more of a filler to connect the last story arc to the next, and as you can see I've not discarded Nagato and Conan. On Annette. Her note, I've seen the kind of power that the real Madara's been throwing around in the manga, and I'd like to point out that Sasuke also has the eternal Mangekyo Sharingan, but his power isn't at Madara's level. In fact, I'd say it's roughly at the same level as Itachi's was before his death. We've seen the Sharingan's abilities evolve as the user gets older, so I've put down the gap between Madara pre-vote and Itachi in this FIC as being nothings in age. Personally, I think Itachi already rivals pre-vote Madara in this FIC because his Susanoo wields the Totsuka no Tsurugi and the Yata no Kagami. Madara would clearly win in a battle of attrition, however do not forget that Itachi is a genius and with those two weapons could be able to subdue Madara if they ever fought. Translation. Karyu no Tekken equals Fire Dragon's Fist, Rasengan equals Spiraling Sphere. Please read and review. See y'all later. The Mage Alliance. Disclaimer. I do not own Naruto or Fairy Tail. Naruto. Fairy Tail Chronicles. Chapter 15. The Mage Alliance. Earthland. Magnolia 8 Island Restaurant. Hello and welcome. Have you decided on your order? Lucy asked, dressed in an orange waitress outfit. I would like a blue sky with meat sauce, and a holly soda pollo. One customer dressed in a stereotypical dark blue wizard outfit answered. I'd like the Beast Man curry. The other man dressed in a white business suit spoke up. Right. Lucy smiled as she wrote down their orders. Thank you for your orders. Would you like some dessert with that? Let's see. Yes, I'll have this ruby parfait, the blue wizard replied. Same for me, nodded the businessman. Thank you very much. Lucy bowed and turned away. I'm ready to order now. Called another customer. Coming. Lucy called back. Wait, what the hell am I doing? She yelled and threw her notepad to the floor. Come on, Lucy. Natsu spoke from the side, wearing a waiter's uniform with his scarf and carrying a plate of food. This is a job too, you know. What part of this looks like a mage's job to you? Lucy shot back. And what is with this outfit I'm wearing? The chefs at the restaurant make magical food, after all, Happy explained. Yup. Natsu nodded as he took a bite out of the food on the plate. And we're here to help out, remember. No eating the customer's food. Lucy yelled at him. A waiter's uniform isn't bad once in a while, Gray spoke from Eastside, carrying another tray of food and only wearing his boxers. Try wearing it, then. Lucy shouted at him. And whose rent are we working to pay off here again? Gray asked her. I'm sorry, Lucy apologized. Recently there was a fiasco with her father where he lost his company and all of the family money including his home. He had gone to work at a merchant guild in a nearby town that had a little trouble with some thugs which Lucy had beaten up, and in doing so she hadn't been on a mission where she could earn the money needed to pay her rent. Now here they were. Besides, check it out, Gray said as he nodded towards the far end of the restaurant. May I have your order? Urza asked as she leaned over an occupied table wearing an orange waitress outfit. I want. Please give us one of everything. The three customers at the table pleaded. Some people are really getting into this, Gray commented. I guess I'll do my best, Lucy sighed. And then there is Naruto. Gray added as he turned towards the ex-shinobi. May I take your order now? Naruto asked cutely, also dressed in an orange waitress outfit. When Urza had found out about his Oroku no Jutsu, he wasn't impressed and had been about to ban him from ever using it when he told her it was used for infiltration missions. After a very long conversation she eventually allowed him to use it, but on Leon missions, and even then he was to say that Naruko was his sister should the weakly sorcerer ever get wind of it. A sweet lie that he could easily make true by simply having a clone become Naruko. While he stood at the counter collecting payment. Unlike Naruto, she had both of her ocean blue eyes instead of Kakashi's Sharingan, despite Naruto's attempts to add it to her. Sometimes it almost seemed like she was a separate person. Are you on the menu? Asked a brute of a male customer. Oh, you. Naruto waved away his question. I'm sure you taste absolutely lovely. The brute smirked and reached up to grab her. Let go of me. Naruto glared at him as she tried to pull away. I just want to ask you something. The man's smirk widened at seeing her struggle. Nissan. Naruto yelped as she felt his hold tighten around her wrist. Get your hands off of my sister. Naruto growled and appeared from the side, landing a solid punch to the brute's face. This is a restaurant, not a whorehouse. Get out of my sight before I throw you out. Why, you'll regret that, the brute snarled back as he and his gang attacked as one. A minute later, restaurant doors flung open as the brute and his gang were kicked out into the street. "You're banned from eating here ever again," Naruto growled and closed the door, not even bothering to see if the troublemakers he had just beaten up were even conscious anymore. "Thanks, Nissan." Naruto sighed in relief. If that brute had used any more force on her wrist, then she would have popped then and there. That would have taken a while to explain. "Don't mention it." Naruto waved it off. Still, that was the 5th time today that someone had tried to harass Naruto, not to mention Urza and Lucy. Natsu and Gray usually stepped in when someone tried something with Lucy, but when someone messed with Urza, well, let's just say she didn't need help dealing with them. "Let's get back to work." "Good work out there, everyone," spoke Shido Yujima. "You young uns these days sure are hard workers, There'll always be a place for you here." "Thank you." Urza smiled back, still dressed as a waitress. "Today was an exceptional experience." "I think she likes the outfit," Happy commented. "What's not to like?" Naruto grinned, only to receive a whack across the head from a blushing Urza. "Man, now I know how Mira-chan feels," Gray groaned as he sat back against the stone wall. "Phew, I'm stuffed." Natsu sighed as he sat down. "Just how much of this place's food did you eat?" Lucy asked incredulously. "What about Naruko-chan?" Gray asked. "Shouldn't you dispel her by now?" "I wish you wouldn't talk about me like I'm not even here." Naruto glared and turned away with a huff. "Seriously, what is with her?" Gray questioned. "If I didn't know she was one of your clones, I would have thought she really was your sister." "My clones can think for themselves," Naruto shrugged. "Isn't that dangerous?" Lucy inquired. "What if they rebel?" "They're still a part of me," Naruto replied. "I trust them like I trust myself." "Nya." Naruto stuck out her tongue at them when he said that. "By the way, Yujima-san, how did things go at the council?" Urza asked the old magic chef. "Oh, well, I'm not a member anymore, Shido admitted. "The council?" exclaimed both Natsu and Gray in surprise. "Didn't you guys know? Yujima-san used to be one of the counselors," Lucy explained. "Zuku. Or was it Zulul?" Shido mused. "You mean Jelil," Urza answered with a sweat drop. "Ah yes, that's right," Shido nodded. The betrayal of Zulul and Ultir was quite the blunder for the council. Now should be the time to establish a fresh, new council, and the groundwork for it seems to be being laid in all quarters. "It caused you all quite a lot of grief." "It did, I am really sorry." "No, I've heard that you were set against firing Idirian the entire time," Urza smiled sadly. "And you even retired out of shame for the actions of the council." "Nah, I just don't think I'm cut out for politics." Shido sighed. "Anyway, cooking is so much more fun." "Ramen." Naruto drooled when Shido handed a bowl of ramen to the blonde Jinchuriki. "Where's mine?" Naruto whined. "Nissan, share it with me." "Huh, did you say something?" Naruto asked. "Nissan, you're turning into Kakashi-sensei," Naruto cried. "By the way, Natsu-kun, Gray-kun," Shido spoke directly to the pair. "A lot of changes are going to be made to the council, and without me around, there won't be anybody to stand up for Fairy Tail when they get into trouble anymore. So suggest you keep that in mind." "Absolutely." Both Natsu and Gray responded at the same time. "We should be heading home," Urza spoke up. "Until next time, Yujima-san." Earthland. Magnolia Fairy Tail Guild. What eyes question is EV? Everyone crowded around the image of a blue chart hanging midair. "It's an organization chart of the Dark Guilds," Mira replied. "I drew it," Ritas spoke up. "When you look at it overall, there are quite a lot of them," Urza mused. "Are we going to go out and pound them?" Naruto asked. "Yeah, that sounds like fun," Natsu agreed. "There has been some activity from them lately," Mira stated. Avenue to strengthen the bonds between guilds." "What's the big oval?" Gray inquired. "Juvia knows, it is the Balam Alliance," Juvia spoke up. "The Balam Alliance is the most powerful force of Dark Guild, combining the three guilds of Oracion Cease, Tartaros and Grimoire Heart. Each of them have a number of associated guilds, and they control the underworld of Dark Guilds. Then there's the guild that acts independently of the rest. Raven Tail. If they've been around for so long, then why hasn't someone dealt with them by now?" Naruto asked the question. "The law against starting wars between guilds," Mira answered. The old Magic Council refused to allow any single guild to wage war on another, even if they were a dark guild. I hate politics, Naruto sighed and shook his head. Huh, Lucy blinked in surprise. Eisenwald, yes, that's the guild that Aragorn was in, Urza nodded. So that was one of the guilds associated with Oración Cease, huh? Gray mused. Eisenwald, Naruto asked. It was a guild we destroyed before you joined, Urza replied. There are a lot of names that I remember up there, Mikao commented. Aren't there some that used to be legal guilds, too? Ghoul Spirits, the one that the Ragenshu destroyed, was also one of them, Mira added. And the guilds Juvia and Gajil-kun destroyed when we were in Phantom Lord were all from Oración Cease, Juvia declared happily. Please, don't go smiling about it, Gray said with a sweat drop. I hope they're not angry, Lucy shivered. Don't worry about it, Naruto grinned. If they decide to pull something then we'll kick their asses. I heard that Oración Cease only has 6 members, Mira added. But even with only 6 members, they're a member of the strongest organization. Only 6? Naruto asked. These guys sound like the Akatsuki. About the Oración Cease, Makarov spoke up as he entered the room. We're going to take them down, he declared to the room's shock. Oh, welcome back Master, Mira smiled. What kind of reaction is that? Lucy asked her. So, Master, what exactly is this about? Urza inquired. At the regular meeting a few days ago, the Oración Cease came up on the agenda. It seems that they're up to something. Makarov explained. It was decided that this development cannot be ignored, and so a guild must be sent to eliminate them. And you just had to draw the losing card, as usual, huh? Gray asked knowingly. Fairy Tail is taking up that responsibility. Juvia asked further. Not quite, Makarov continued. The enemy is simply too large for that. If we went in alone, then we would end up as the sole targets of the Balam Alliance's wrath. As such, we're going to be forming an alliance of our own. An alliance? Naruto asked the question. With who? Fairy Tail, Blue Pegasus, us, Lamia Scale, Kate Shelter. Each of these guilds is to select a number of members, and those members will join forces to defeat the enemy, Makarov concluded. We can handle those guys alone, Natsu spoke up. Hell, I can handle those guys alone. Naive fool, Urza said as she whacked him over the head. The master is thinking of the consequences that come afterwards. Wait, hold on a second. We're only dealing with 6 people, right? Lucy asked. What kind of monsters are they? You've seen what the master, Urza, Naruto and Itachi can do. Not to mention Natsu, Gray responded. With comrades like them, what do you think qualifies as a monster? He has a point, Naruto agreed though he hated to be referred to as a monster. Speaking of Itachi, has anyone seen him? He has been gone. For nearly a month now, Gray trailed off. Itachi-kun said he had some business to take care of, Mira answered with a smile. Then it seems he will not be going with you, Makarov sighed. Urza, Naruto, Natsu, Gray, Lucy, you 5 will represent Fairy Tail in the Mage Alliance. The end. Remember to subscribe and like this video. See you in the next